Stick with for the quality.
You know, it's important stuff. They're here to they're here to hear you more than they're here to hear me. They hear me all the fucking time. I respect that, stills. So hi and welcome to Bridge the Gap. This is the show where we come through and we talk to very interesting people such as Mr. Vincent Pryce over here, and we walk through their lives and we learn knowledge nuggets and whatnot. My name is Holden Stephan Roy, and I'd say it's truly a pleasure to have Mr. Vince Pryce over here with us. Boy, oh boy, is this guy an interesting character in my life. I would argue if you were to say to me, like mid-December, who's Vince Pryce? I'm going to be like, Ismail gifted him a sub. And that's as far as it went for me. He was in the chat. He was just a name that was there. And I'm like, I don't know who he is. Then I'm like, we're going to come through and we're going to do this murder face review. And then the next thing I know, Vince is like, can I be on that? Cool Man said it was cool. And I'm like, huh? He's like, I'm in the murder face. I'm like, you're in the murder face? And he was like, and then we did the thing. And that was on January 1st. And some like 3 weeks later, he agreed to be the DJ up on the Crossroad thing. And then we started this whole fucking mission. And now Vince the homie and whatnot. So it's real fucking cool to have him back on the show. Dropping music, beat making fucking guru up in Montreal, producing Mind the Brilliance and whatnot. Plus, he's a podcaster and does podcasting stuff also. This guy is a very talented multimedia creator, dude. I think it's safe to say it's multimedia once you branch out into multiple kinds of media. So welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you here. And
Pleasure's all yours. No, I'm joking.
That was funny. Nah, it is. It's good. So we'll get into it. I have my token first question I like to ask that like starts off the story and whatnot. You've probably seen me ask it before, so you're real familiar with it. It's okay. We're going to run through it anyway. Just because.
When you get to God, what would you like him to say?
Man, I should throw in some questions like that one day. Just like fuck with people in the review.
It's from the actor studio. And like at the end, he would go through the person's career, and then at the end he would ask it was usually actors, obviously the actor studio. James Lipton, what's his name? Will Ferrell did like a spoof of him, but he always had the same like set of questions, and he was just like, when you get to heaven, if you saw God, what would you like him to say to you? And it was just like, I don't know.
That's a fresh question still.
Sorry to curtail you,
but this is the it's the first Vince Pryce experience. That's what you are. You're a repository of knowledge and information is what I've come to see, and you can correlate almost any moment back to a movie or a moment.
I mean, how useful or useless that skill is, or that gift that I have is, that's up to you or anyone to surmise. But
Vincent is taking over the interview. Perhaps for now, but also I'm curious, right? Like, we see Vince on camera a lot. I talk to Vince a lot, so I guess for me it's a bit different.
Also, I don't talk a lot on the stream, in the cipher, because I let the music speak, even though it's not all mine. But I let the music speak.
But like on the other end of it,
it's off,
I was just curious where you went with that question because it threw me off guard a little bit, and it's pretty blessed. But still, I'm going to still ask that first question because it wouldn't be a proper episode without it. Like, even if I ask somebody to come back, we got to make sure they re-asked it if they didn't get it the first time. On that note, it's a whole little story. And when it lands, all the good stuff. And Vince is like, I really don't want this question. I'm going to just...
No, I don't mind. It's my fucking... My laundry is going. It's loud. I'm just gonna close my door.
No worries, man. It's the real deal Twitch experience. No, I'm sure we're all having fun. We're all getting a little warmed up together. But basically, yeah. So it all starts with my girlfriend. She washing her dishes and she's listening to that Black Eyed Peas song and she's doing her thing that I got a feeling. Whoo. And she's like bopping around and dancing, and it brought me back to this whole like vibe of like thinking about this song and its place in time and whatnot, and how like back in the day, 10 years ago, whatnot, we'd all be in the clubs jumping in circles, drunk as fuck to this song because it was the big party, and that shit was huge. Remember the one take videos and shit was huge. And now it's chores music, and it's workout music, and it's all this active feel good music. And they got me thinking about like musics and times and whatnot, how everything just kind of fits into stuff, and just how like all that club music that you're hearing today, the Cardi B's, the everything's, it's all gonna be like this chores music in the future that kids are gonna watch their parents and shit grow up to and whatnot, and it's gonna create a foundational element to like them and whatnot. And that got me thinking a bit about musical journeys and all of our musical journeys and all the typical things when it starts with our preferences, when we're in our early adolescences as we form our identities, and usually the whole thing kind of starts there. But nah, for me, it's like that's not really where the journey begins for most of us. It goes like way back to when we met young and whatnot. Like, I can think about being mad young with my parents, and my dad would have those gray boxes, the amplifiers and radios and all the wires hooked up to the speakers, and be bopping these Zeppelin tapes and shit like that. At night, it would be the radio MC Mario techno things. My mom would cop that bad disco from the fucking corner store, and it would just be these shitty knockoffs, and all these different like sounds and things like would be listened to a lot, and kind of form this like foundation of, I guess, my whole musical journey. So I think it would be mad awesome if you could walk us through a little bit the soundscape of your existence when you was like a super young serial killer, Mr. Pryce.
Damn, I don't know where to begin. Like what was the first some of the first music that I heard
when you're like
that when I was a kid, like
you're super young, you're around the house.
I mean, I grew up I was born in to age me, I was born in 84, the end of 84, so more like 85. So my formative kind of like years when I guess I like kind of understood music more, like when like 3, 4, 5. I know there's like a few songs that I like really like. I grew up in a pretty musical household. Like my parents were always playing music. My dad's like he played bass. He's like a bass player. My mom loved music. She was always playing music and singing. She had a pretty good voice, like she probably could have been like a backup singer possibly, but she loved singing and dancing, having a good time. So like I specifically remember like a few songs that I liked when I was a kid, like that were kind of corny. There was this one song, I don't even remember who it's by, but it was like I think they used it in the Club Med ad or something like, and it was like, hands up, baby, hands up,
give me your heart, give me your. That shit's a banger. I don't care what anyone says. Put the lime in the coconut and banger. Banger.
And there's another one. I think it was Terrence Trent D'Arby. It was life is like a wishing well, kiss and tell. So like this, I guess, cheesy 80s kind of pop, like beat. I don't know. It was like a happy kind of vibe, which is the music that I kind of make now is, kind of dark and brooding. Not all of it, but I do take a lot of like inspiration from that. But saying that I grew up like my dad playing bass. Like I listened to he played a lot of rock and like blues rock. He loved like Buddy Guy and Muddy Waters and BB King and fucking Howlin' Wolf and Stevie Ray Vaughan and Gary Moore. And then my mom, she liked more of the like like Neil Young and Bonnie Raitt and the Hall and Oates and Genesis and like the classic rock, but a bit more like softer, So like I'm not gonna say like Q92, but she liked Show'em.
Yeah, just so that people know that are not from Montreal, Q92 is what I call mom music. I don't know how else to put it, but it's totally a radio station that targets moms, not any other demographic.
I mean, she liked some of that stuff, but she definitely was like, she hated like Michael Bolton, Kenny G. She only called Michael Bolton Michael Bolthead. So she liked really like good music, and I'm sure if she really listened to it, there would be some songs of Michael Bolton that she did like. But for the most part, she really liked, the band. I don't know if you know who the band was. It was like this ragtag group of musicians from Canada and the States, and Robbie Robertson actually, he like lived with Martin Scorsese for a time, and Martin Scorsese, when he was first like up and coming, made a documentary on them called The Last Waltz, and it's like my mom played that movie like all the time. It's like a documentary theater concert, and it was called The Last Waltz because it was their like last show as like a group together, and there was like all these like amazing musicians that were there, like Bob Dylan and Neil Young and Neil Diamond, Buffy Sainte-Marie. Like it was just like this really good, cool theater concert, and just like the Eagles, she loved that too. Like, so growing up, I had this whole plethora of music to like listen to, and it like as a kid, I'm just like hearing it. Da, 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 da. So like when I got into hip hop, and I would hear samples, I'd be like, oh, I know where that's from. This kind of just because I grew up listening to it, or I'd be like, at least not necessarily know where exactly where it's from, but I was like, oh, I heard that before. So that's kind of really helped me already.
Yo, that's mad cool. This is why we do this dig back, yo. We never would have learned about your fascination with musical documentaries as a child because your mom put that on blast on repeat simultaneous. Your dad's a bass player.
Yeah,
shit, your bass lines
really
are that good.
So my brother's a bass player too. He was in a pretty successful punk band.
Yeah, that's mad nifty. All of this is like, this is why we do this, is so we can bridge the gap on the knowledge of not just fun stuff, but also like the cool trivia that surrounds you and your world and the influences and inspirations. And yes, Cool Man Logan, I see you. Hi, Cool Man Logan. But yeah, so basically we started off, and now we know that that's going on. Yo, I just gotta ask, what's it like? Was your dad busting out the bass all the time? Like, was that like a cool thing, or was it like a lot of just repetitious bass lines that was kind of annoying?
He played mostly. He had this little a little amp, and he plugged his headphones into it, so he wasn't like playing it loud in the house because we lived in an apartment, so he couldn't really do that. He did have an amp, and sometimes he would like bust it out but for the most part, when he's playing, it was through headphones. He had headphones on, so
and then just got that
like I would listen to it. Like I would just hear the pluck, like the
that's a pleasing sound to me, but it's also like not that attractive just by itself with no amp. I'll be real.
Yeah, it wasn't even the boy. It was more just like a bang 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 bang. It was just like a very kind of plucky sound. Anyways.
Nah, it's fair. I play bass, so for me, it's like I know exactly what that sound is. You're describing it. It sounds like absolute ass when you're just plucking it on the bass. Like I'm just saying, it's the truth of an electric bass. But when you hear it inside, when you hear it like with the headphones, it sounds proper, and it's just
a really nice bass too. It had like on the, I forget what the bottom part is called. The bridge.
I don't remember either. And there's the neck, and then there's the plucky part.
Yeah, well, it was like right where the
neck.
It's just like the bridge. Yeah, maybe. Not the neck. The bridge. Anyways, it had a thing that said "badass" on it, like, and it was a really nice, like, kind of, like, brownish kind of like light, kind of khaki color bass, brown, like really really light brown, like. Cat, yeah.
All right, that's fresh though. So let me ask more questions about you. Were you an aspiring bass player at 5 or 4 when you saw this going on?
No, not really. I mean, I played around with it, but other than like listening to music, I wouldn't say I was like that musically inclined.
Were you like one of those making mixtapes off the radio, young ones?
I definitely did that. I loved music. I would always tape, the like from as long as I could remember. from like when I was like actually listening to the radio and like kind of developing a taste of music of my own. I'd always tape stuff off the radio for sure. Yeah.
All right. So I know maybe I should ask it first, but I like to throw it in after I start talking. But where are you from?
I'm from Montreal. Grew up in NDG, Notre Dame de Grace.
That's a good part of town.
Yeah, the west side of NDG. Right. Trenham Park was my backyard. Okay. That was my backyard. Like literally, like my alley went right to there. So it was just like, and that's like a pretty huge, like sprawling park, you know, compared to a lot of parks in, you know, in NDG. I don't know. I always thought it was a pretty big park, and there was like the little kid park and the big kid park. Like I always remember, like, you know, I don't know. I'm sure you might be a bit familiar with
bro,
it.
I'm literally Googling which fucking park it is right now because I'm like, I know I should know which Oh, there's shit, like it's that park. Okay, there's it's the fucking Park Row West one. It's that park.
Yeah, it's been in between Park Row East and
Park Row I had no idea. Okay, that park is lit. You got to grow up with that park? Bro, that's lit. No.
That's like...
Hold on.
There in like Loyola Park I would frequent also. But Trenham, that was my backyard. Like me and all my friends, like other than hanging out on their street. Because I grew up on the street with like a lot of kids. Like there was like... It was like one of those like amazing childhoods where you like played with like fucking 10, 12 kids. Like we played like hide and go seek in people's like certain people's houses were free, right? So you could like go from different people's houses and like hide there. So it was just like
that's
crazy like that. Yeah.
And then you got Montreal as trick or treating. I don't know. Maybe it was.
We didn't go. We didn't go that far. No, I didn't go. A few times I went to Hampstead randomly, like because I had cousins through marriage that lived in Hampstead, so we went like trick or treating there once, and they had like a contest for like who has the best like Halloween decorated house, and there was some like really fucking like people had like movie props like in their front yard and stuff, like big money like productions.
Yeah, serious. I know it's Montreal West with like it was like a block party every year. But with kids
went to the pool costume. There. I went to Montreal West pool.
Straight up. I bet we went swimming together as youth and had
it was like we had to pay $1. It wasn't like Benny or like
but it was worth it. It was nice.
It was because it was a better pool. It was just straight up better pool.
And then you had like that little area in the back where you could chill at or whatnot. Like that was my pool.
For us, it was like a venture. We'd bike over to Mo West and like we're going to the pool.
I would like walk over to Hump and then like cut through in the back and whatnot. Anyway, the Hump is a hill. This is fun. I'm enjoying thinking about fucking the Montreal West swimming pool. I know I've walked by it with Bonnie and been like, that's the pool we used to go to. He is what? You're 36? Yes. Wants to know. It was like 84, I think you said. I'm 87. I did some maths.
Yeah, 84. December 84. So.
Yeah, that's true. That's fresh though. No, I mean that. Like it's a cool time, like you said, with the growing up. I don't often think a lot about that, but just the dynamic of having that like collaborative run around shit. I grew up a little bit farther away, but close enough, man. We could go to like Edinburgh Park, like because there was that little park in the. Edinburgh
I went to St. Ignatius, which was on Summerled and Coronation, I believe. Which is a French school now, and next beside it was a French school called Saint Catherine de Sienne, but that was a small school. Like I think it was like one floor, like there wasn't like two floors. Like,
shit.
Or was there? Yeah, I think it was just like a one floor school. Like,
yo, did you go to the Strathern Park fucking Canada Days?
Yes.
Straight the fuck up.
Because my dad's like first cousin, he's my second cousin, but he's more like an uncle to me, like growing up. I'm still pretty close with him, but they lived in Montreal West, so we would like go there sometimes and then go to the Canada Day, or we would just go there because Strathern Park they just had like lit fireworks, and there was always like mad like family events.
Montreal West is like nonstop. Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, so I grew up like going to a lot of those things. My parents would just like bring me to that shit. So I'm just like,
No, that's
yeah.
fresh though. So were you also
Like I feel like growing up was more like going to events and things like that was like more Montreal West oriented than NDG. Like Montreal West very English too, so it was just like, you know,
Yeah,
it's like the little house on the prairie version of like fucking like Westmount type of thing. You know, it was just like very. It was
I,
more like tight knit. You
no,
know, it's like
man,
it's
I
not
feel
as like,
you. I
you know what I
really
mean,
do.
like
Cause I grew up like close in the Grow Westminster. So
the
I'm
like
like,
Protestant like Westmount, because Westmount's more Jewish, but like Mo West is more like Protestant style.
nah, but back then it was like really like lower middle class. It was a completely different vibe than it is like now, right? Like, so yes, there was like, it was like a low end of it all. So it was like a lower,
Yeah.
whatever. I'm like, I just remember like I went to EBS, right? So for me, that's
Mm-hmm,
the hood.
mm-hmm.
That's like 7 years
Yeah,
up in
yeah.
that shit.
No, I knew kids that went to EBS, and I'd always hear about it. It's like, oh, EBS. What's EBS? Oh, Elizabeth Valentine. Like,
I was like, shit's litty. I didn't know about better or worse, but I knew that it was like, it had 2 floors.
yeah.
Anyway, so when you were like really young, were you into like dancings and other kinds of extracurriculars?
Dancing, I did. No, not really. I played a bit of like basketball. I did karate a bit, judo, fencing. I tried fencing, and I was actually like in the Montreal games.
No shit.
Uh, but I got like, yeah, I don't even know how I ended up in there. I guess I was like one of the better students in because at Trenham Park they would have my parents put me in these
Okay,
they
because
had
there's that
like
building.
extracurricular, yeah, it's like a sports complex
Yo,
thing that's like,
that's where the
so
cadets
I
would
would
shoot
do
pellet
I
guns.
okay, well, I played basketball there, I did judo there, I did friggin' the fencing. It's like none of them, like I didn't stick to any of those things. Like I was just like, yeah, I want to do this, da, 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 but I didn't like stick to any of them really, like except like maybe a bit basketball. Like I like that was the most consistent thing. I kind of played basketball, and I'm not even that good. I just like the idea. I'm like, yeah, basketball. Like, but fencing, I was like, okay. But anyways, I went in the Montreal games, and I got the guy like hit me in the shoulder with that fucking uh, the saber or whatever. There was like joust, thrust, parry. Like there's all these like different moves that you say or whatever. And he hit me right in the shoulder. And like when you're done your match, you're supposed to like take off your mask and like shake hands or whatever. But he hit me so hard that I was like, I started like tearing up. I was like, it hurt. Like I was crying. So I didn't want to like take off my mask because I was like embarrassed and shit. Yeah.
Yo, Lindell wants to know what your favorite martial art is.
Kung Fu. I did a bit of Taekwondo and I did a bit of Kung Fu and Judo. And Kung Fu is my favorite of the. I did say Wing Chun Kung Fu.
Fair enough. But yeah, that's a good fencing story, a vulnerable fencing story.
Yeah, you know, like, yo, I always remember that because I was like so embarrassed that I wasn't like ooh cry, but it hurt. It fucking hurt my shoulder. Like it got me like
hold
right.
on, but you took it and you stood there, and you still kept at. You took it. That's respect. I don't care what anyone says.
Anyways, it hurt. I just remember it really hurting and being like, ugh. And then I'm like, he got me good. Like I'm just like, what the fuck am I doing here? Like in the Montreal games for fencing, I was just like, yeah.
How old are you when that happened?
Damn, I don't know, like 9, 10.
Fair enough. I didn't really realize there was a Montreal games, to be honest, until you just said it and I'm thinking about it.
Because it was all of those things, like, because this was something that was like we get a pamphlet and it was for like the Montreal. So it was like all those complexes, like sports complexes that you see throughout Montreal, like the one at Trenham. Like there's that big statue man in front of that was a sports complex. So it was just like different days of the week. There was like badminton and judo and basketball and all these like different things and you know, fencing. So my parents would like sign me up for different things like over there. Like, oh, you want to do any of these things? I'll be like, yeah, I want to do that or that. So then I guess they get the best of all of those kids together, and that's who competes in the Montreal games.
Yeah, that's crazy. Did any of y'all ever go to the Montreal games? I'm just asking just in case, whatever. Y'all can answer whenever. But before we move on past Little Vincent, I like that, Little Vincent. Um, did you get into drawing or whatnot when you were young?
Drawing, yeah, I used to draw a lot.
That's dope.
Yeah, I like drawing. I think that was like one of my first like things I really liked. I wasn't like that good at it, but I just liked drawing and like the idea of it. And my godfather, who's from the States, actually is actually not a famous drawer, but he used to work for Marvel.
Okay.
And he drew like Alf, the Alf comic book. And at one point he did Spy vs. Spy. And he did the Sonic comic book, and the continuation of what's it called, Sabrina the Teenage Witch. At one point he did that, and he has his own like online comic that he developed called Cyrano the Burger Rat, and it was like this, I guess, crime fighting rat that flipped burgers also. So instead of Cyrano de Bergerac, it was Cyrano de Burger Rat.
I like that.
But yeah, Dave Manick, he was, I don't have any contact with him anymore, but I've like looked him up online, and yeah, I still have like a bunch of artwork that he said, like he would do, like we would ask him to draw, like me and my brother. He drew us like custom personalized Spy vs. Spy and like Sonic the Hedgehog like drawings, because it's just like legit. He was like a cartoonist, you know. He's like, he worked for Mad, he worked for Marvel in the 80s and stuff. So he sent me a bunch of like how-to drawing books and stuff, and I would like trace things and like yeah. So that was like in elementary school. I really like drawing.
No, I appreciate that. What's up, Dozy? I'm just seeing who's popping in and saying hi. That's fresh though. I really like. You have a lot of talent in your family. That really, I can see how that could push you off the jump. Yeah. Like, not that we spent a lot of time, and we're still like under 10 years old. That's definitely a pretty cool childhood. That's all I gotta say. Like, yo, as you got to be involved in community as well right off the jump and see the impact of it, which is just really like honestly encouraging. You know, like, yo, my shit was nice. There was like cool shit in NDG. I'm like, that's blessed. There's cool shit.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, you know, before, you know, it was all like fine and dandy and cool. You know, until I got into drugs.
Yo, what's up, dudes? God. All right, so let's move on to the next little phase of this, which would be a little bit more about your own personal musical identity, which I find is usually around the adolescent ages is when we kind of like attach ourselves to like a particular sound or a particular thing that you hear and you go, no, like that's my shit. Like I remember I was 12 and I was in grade 6 and I heard the Thorn song. And that was it. It was over. I gave a fuck about music in a whole new way. It was half the Thorn songs content, but it was also the songs lit. I don't care what anyone says. Backstreet Boys, all that unlocked the doors for me.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you remember like the beginnings of your own personal preferences and what like the original songs was.
I do. More like when I like really like thought about it and went back, like there's like maybe one or two kind of like titular like point, and one of them was I was camping and I met this kid from Vermont, and his name was Mac, and he said, I'm from the ghettos of Vermont. He was this like little like white trash fucking kid with like a rat tail mullet, and he had a tape, and I had like a tape player, I think, and I don't even remember what I was listening to, but like on one side, it was like another tape from a friend that had like Beastie Boys and like something else, but he had a tape and it had fucking Snoop Dogg on it. And he played me Snoop Dogg. I don't even remember what song it was. And it was just like, he was just like, yeah, man. He's like, this is what we listen to in the ghettos of Vermont. And he played me that shit. And I was just like, yo, what the fuck is that? And it was like but I know it was Snoop Dogg. So I was like 9 years old. So like hearing that, it was from his first album, obviously.
Doggy Style.
It's from Doggy Style. And so 9 years old, like how is it like that? It was like probably like 93 or something, or probably like that year that the shit came out. But I just remember hearing that and being blown away, like, what the fuck is this? And this like little like dirty white kid on a BMX bike, like fucking showing me.
I'm just like, did he just go like, yo, the ghettos in Vermont be bumping this? And
yeah, that's what he said. I just remember this kid named Mac, like this like dirty little fucking dirt kid.
Everything about that story was wonderful. Also down to like the Snoop Dogg. That's a wild start. So I guess Snoop Dogg caught your attention, and it was like game on.
That and the Beastie Boys, and I think it was like shit. It was like something for. It was like Check Your Head. Mm-hmm. It was like something from that, because I was camping with like another family of this childhood friend of mine. Were born like a week apart, and my mom and his mom were like friends. They like worked together, and we would go camping together sometimes. And he had two older sisters. So yeah, like, and they had a tape, and there was like Beastie Boys on it. I just remember like them saying, "Yeah, it's the Beastie Boys," and I was like, "Oh, that's a cool ass name," just like. But yeah,
I love it.
So yeah, Snoop Dogg and the Beastie Boys.
So that gets you invigorated. And so outside of the radio, do you have other plugs to getting new music, or are you at this?
No, not really. I don't even. I'm trying to think like where else that I listen. Like other than that, it was like me and my friend. Like when I was around 10 or 11, this kid that lived down the street from me, Danny Burns. Shout out Danny Burns, and my other friend Carlos, who had just immigrated from Mexico, and his like parents like got here, and at first they were like living at the YMCA, and then there was like a friend of mine that lived down the street from me, John Keane, and his dad was Irish and his mom was like Mexican. And he like put up this, like they lived in his basement for like a few months till they like found a house that was just like up the block, and they eventually lived there. But he had an older brother, and he put me onto a lot of like hip hop and shit too. But me and this kid Danny Burns, we like loved, and like at that time we started going to dances and stuff. So we just hear like music at the dances.
Oh my gosh, I remember the dances. NDG had a lit dance system.
There was like a dance at the it wasn't because I went to St. Ignatius, and it was the school next door where
Isn't it St. Monica's?
No, it was St. Catherine de Sienne. And it was also where I went to day camp, the Loyola day camp. But they in at school during the school year, like they had a Halloween dance and probably like a Christmas dance. I just remember specifically the Halloween dance. And I don't know, it was like 92, so they played like fucking Jump Around, and then like probably Nirvana. It was like a whole mix of music. It was like grunge and like rap and like not hardcore rap, and like dance music. Like, so I like dance music a lot too when like I was a kid in the early 90s. But more and more and more, and the Out There Brothers, and like fucking Wigfield, and like all this corny like 90s CNC Music Factory.
I'm sorry, but I don't know if I would call a lot of this corny. I think it's
okay. It's not corny. It's actually pretty like good dance music.
We're all vibing to it now. But it was just corny then.
But yeah, so that dance music and rap, that was like the shit that I like. I guess I gravitated a bit more to dance, because I remember the dance songs that I did like were always the more like darker kind of stuff. Like, I like to move it. I like to
move it. That shit's that shit's too lit, my guy. I'm sorry, but like it's litty as fuck. I'm glad we're talking about this. I also forgot about those dances, because I remember like a little bit later on going to like Valentine's dances at that very school, because that would be the shit. Like everybody in the neighborhood would like link up there. It wasn't like a school thing. It was just you went and you spent your $10 or whatever it was, and you went to the dance.
Yep. No, it wasn't even $10. It was.
I don't even know if you
paid to no, because we were little kids. So like I don't know, maybe
I was like 12.
Our parents paid or whatever, but yeah.
But like, yeah, so
yeah, those dances.
So that's fresh.
And I remember seeing like this kid. It was an older kid, and he had a Mobb Deep shirt on, and I was like, "Yo, what's that?" And he had those like, and now they make them. It was like a bootleg Mobb Deep shirt, but it was like the face from Infamous, and then it said like Mobb Deep, and it was just like the coolest shirt like I ever saw, and I was like, "Whoa!" That and Cross Colors was really big at that time, and everyone had the hat with the Malcolm X, and
like nobody talks about the fashion. That's wicked stills. So you were like,
I remember the like exhaust jean. Like, I wouldn't say I was like fashionable when I was a kid, but I was like, I like understood. I remember like the first thing I bought with like my own money, like of clothing, was like this Nike baseball like jersey. And I remember like being really upset because like I put it in the laundry, and it like my mom bleached it because it was white, but it like fucked up the sides of it, and I was like, ooh. And I think it like shrunk too, so it like stopped like fitting me. But I remember it was like $30. I bought it at Eaton's at the fucking Cavendish Mall, and I was like so excited. I was like, yeah, I bought this shirt.
Everything about this is so relatable. I love this. This is so good, Vince. I'm enjoying this, man. The comments is fucking constant. The comments hasn't been constant like that in a fucking minute, man. That's fucking fresh. So, like, all right, so you busting some dance moves up at the dance. You doing your thing there. You're a drawer, but you're not like a super drawer. When do you, like, start to, like, go a little bit further with it? Also, like, what high school do you go to?
I went to Marymount.
That's fresh. So is it in Marymount that you discover a love for the rapidy raps and all this?
Yeah,
like
definitely.
For real? Because you're in a pre-internet, right? Or do you have the net and all this at this point?
Well, it was, again, it goes back to my friend Carlos. He first had the internet. And we got into all sorts of like, internet troubles and sites and internet porn and like, but he got probably when I was like 14 or 15, he got Cool Edit and one of the first versions of like Fruity Loops. So I would like start making beats at his house, and yeah, he had the Cool Edit, and then hold on.
How do you get to this point where you're just like, I started making, but a little bit more. Okay. How do you like get to this point where you're like, I'm gonna make beats?
I guess because he downloaded this program, Fruity Loops. He's like, yo, we can make beats with it. Like, I don't know where he heard about it or found out about it. He was always more like internet side. I didn't even have a fucking computer till I was like 17 or 18 or something. So this is like, we're probably like 14 at this time. And he had a computer earlier than that. And we used to like go on. He had this like one. He like knew where to get the games. Like he would use like Juarez and like all this. He like knew how to like navigate around the internet. It was pretty like cool. Like from a young age, like getting like the fucking Pamela Anderson Playboy pictures and stuff like that. And like he would sell them to like the kids at school for like $10 a pop. Like, so he's just
that's a hustle.
But yeah, he always had like, and the internet you'd have on the AOL like discs, like you use those discs, and we would like steal them from the houses, and then like just keep reusing like different discs.
That's amazing. Actually, we used to get them like, they used to give them out heavy though, like cereal box type level heavy. No, but still, that's fresh as fuck. So basically, y'all end up with Fruity Loops back when it was like still called Fruity Loops.
Yeah, Fruity Loops, Cool Edit, and like some other pro, but it was mostly like cool like that. And then Cool Edit, you could make beats in Cool Edit, because I know people that did. I never did that, but I know it was like you could. Just like edit sound and stuff. I know people that still use Cool Edit, but we used it to like sample something. And I remember one of the first things I ever the first thing I sampled was Isaac Hayes' Shaft. Like
So here's what we're gonna do now. You're gonna have to remember that you're moving on in your head like everybody understands beat making shit from this point on. I'm going to go ahead and say, nah, my guy, walk us through this with more explicit detail. How do you go from the womp, 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 womp to bless ass beat?
Well, it wasn't that at first. It was not because I didn't even understand.
Peter West is like, I still use cool at it.
I didn't even understand the like, because it's in Fruity Loops, it's step sequencing, right? So you have like the 4 bars or whatever, and there's like 16 little like switches. So it's just like one, and then you leave one blank, and then another one you put something in that. So that's 2 kicks of a snare, like pop pop, and then you fix the tempo, and depending how fast you want it to go, and then usually in Fruity Loops they have the the template, which is like the kick, drum, kick, snare, hi-hat, clap, or whatever. So it's usually that. So this is like Fruity Loops fucking like, well, 1 or 2. I don't even remember
Fruity
what
Loops back then.
It was called Fruity Loops. It was still called Fruity Loops.
So I can picture.
I didn't even really like use it at first. It was mostly him, and he would make these like weird kind of just like, oh, place it anywhere, and it would kind of sound weird. And he was like, yeah, I made a Timbaland like beat, or Missy Elliott Timbaland beat, and it would just sound like craziness. And then like, I guess slowly started to like figure it out. Like I would just sit there at his place and like do it, because I didn't even have a computer at this point. So it wasn't until like a few years later that I actually got my own computer. And then I don't even remember how I like got Fruity Loops. I think it was like from some friends that I was hanging out with, like at that, because that was, I was like 14. How old was I? What year was that? 2000 or something? Around like.
So I'm hearing that, Vince, you are the, like, via influence, you influence Rokes, and Rokes influence Peter West, so voila. 2 people I fuck with today.
I don't know if I influenced Rokes, because Rokes was like making beats around like the same, like, because our mutual friend Kane introduced us, and I think Rokes was already making beats, and he was already dope. So it was like, but he was always more South influenced, and he influenced me to like make like South style beats, because I just made these like kind of like
And this is all like back then, or is that later on?
That was later. That was a bit later on.
All right. So I don't know. I'm having fun with this. I like it when the chat's like fucking moving and people's all engaged with it. It makes me feel more elated as a performer. So thank you all, by the way. That's I guess where I was going with that, but I forgot. But yo,
the chat.
So you're basically a teenager, and you making beats. You're clearly in love with the hip hops at this point. But were you also like interested in being a rapper as well, or were you?
I wrote raps. I still have like a bunch of my shit that I wrote in high school, like these really like cringy, because I really liked a lot of because then when I first started getting into to like rap on my own, like I would go to HMV all the time, buy CDs, like I would save up my allowance, or
Cavendish
go
Mall.
to Cavendish Mall, Music World tapes. But when I started buying like CDs, actually probably my first CDs were from Music World, but they were like $30 like for like just a CD. And then HMV always had like, they had more selection, and they had, they had the deals or whatever.
Which
like,
HMV? Like the crest? Like
the one at Peel, the big one. Actually, when I was like 16, I got caught shoplifting there. That's another story.
Dude, it's way cooler than I got caught shoplifting at 16 story. I'm telling you that. I had to go to a math exam, and I stole a calculator, and I got busted. Not cool. At least you got caught doing something cool. I mean, it's not that. I almost got away
too. The guy, the security guy manager, he was like, "You almost got." I was like halfway crossing the street, and he like grabbed me and like pulled me. I was like, "Oh." Like 16-year-old little shithead.
Man, everybody was a 16-year-old shithead though, so that's an okay thing. It's not like you were doing anything drastic. You're just jacking a couple albums from a company that wasn't gonna make it.
No, but I shopped there, like that was like I bought stuff there like all the time. I spent like a lot of money, and it was like this one CD was like $30. I'm like, I'm not paying fucking $30 for that. And I'm just like, I'm gonna take it. And I think what gave me away is because I was there for like an hour and a half, like kind of deliberating. And then I like went to an area where there was like no cameras, and I like shoved it into my like CD case with my like CD player in it. It was like there was like the stairs
that was everything.
That was like halfway between, like upstairs was like world music and like all this like boring shit. And like so halfway between there was no like cameras. So I was just like, boom, I shoved it in there. No, I took the plastic off because it had the little magnetic stripper. And I like shoved it behind some other CDs because when I got out, the guy's like, "Where did you put that?" He's like, "Where did you hide that?" Because you walked out of the store without the thing or whatever. And I like walked him over. I'm like, "Oh, it's here." Anyways,
dude, that's fine.
So the CD was Psychopathic Riders. It was fucking.
Is that the fucking Insane Clown
ICP?
Posse?
Yeah, ICP
They're fucking
and Twisted.
gangster shit.
Yeah, exactly. It was like them rapping over like West Coast.
Dude,
beats.
that shit's like a fucking gem that you can't even find on YouTube.
That's it. That's why I was like, yo, I'm not paying $30 for that, but it was just like you couldn't find it anywhere else except online, and it was like, you know, $20 American, and like back then, like our dollar was like way like shittier than it is now.
That's hilarious.
So that's the like CD I wanted to steal, and I almost got away with it, and then had to go to like this like Bath Shaw like thing, and I had to write this like 10-page essay on like why I did it, and then go and like present it to the manager, and the guy just like looked at it and he like put it in the drawer or something. Probably never fucking read it.
I once had to go spend a week at the YMCA because I got in trouble at school, and it was like rehabilitation YMCA activity time.
Oh wow.
Everybody I think did some shit in high school is all I'm saying. It's all good.
Well, I never got, you know, I never stole again, or at least I never got caught.
I don't know if I stole. No, I stole a whole bunch. I like, yeah, we used to like rob the Super Club Videotron I worked at because like we were the employees. I think we found out that collectively we jacked something like $8,000 in like junk food.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, no wonder they shut our store down in hindsight. But so like you got into the beats kind of then, and then you was also busting the raps. Were you like a freestyler? Were you showing people? Were you like ingratiated into that?
I would just write my own things, and I was like, I guess at that time I was like, because like Cypress Hill, Wu-Tang, Delinquent Habits, Psycho Realm. That was like what I really like kind of like listened to a lot. And then Napster was fresh at that time. So like there was like the guy Benefit, remember him? He had those like Mario Brothers songs, and he had these like really like nerdy like rap songs.
You're a bit older than me, so it's entirely possible that your access to music and trajectory at this point is mad different than mine. I was more on that pop sphere at Wager.
Fair enough. But yeah, like Wu-Tang, Method Man, like House of Pain. I listened to a lot of that. I like that. So like a lot of Soul Assassins. Like DJ Muggs has always been like a huge influence to me, and just like, and he still is, because he's just like, he's still releasing amazing music. But him, RZA, Alchemist, those are like my top three.
So yeah, when you were like 13, 14, digging through crates, doing your shit, was you like busting out the Grammys off the jump, or were you like making all?
No, because I didn't really get into like really like making beats. I was like probably my last year of high school, so I was like probably like 16, 17. Okay, and then that's when I started, like, I would like sample like me, like, because I was really into movies too. Like I would like, from like a young age, I really loved movies, and I would like fake sick to like stay home, and then go and like bring like my mom's like beer bottles back and like get the change for it to go like rent a movie at the fucking dep like a few blocks away. And I would just like hang out at the video store. So like movies was actually like my first love, and like that and drive. So that movies and music have always been like a huge like. My music has always been influenced by movies. Like I sample a lot from movies and it's like soundtracks and.
So like you was basically also desiring to make movies back in the day. Like was that
Yeah,
like you
I've
would?
like written some like scripts and stuff. Like I still do want to make a movie. Like I'm like I love movies as much as I love music. So to me, the two have always kind of just influenced each other. But to me, like the music became more like attainable because I'm just like, oh, I haven't made a movie yet, but like people know me for my music or whatever.
So are you like just like linking up with people in high school, or are you just kind of cruising high school until the end, and then your story starts to pick up after that?
Well, like I went to high school with a few notable rappers, Frost,
Okay.
who used to go by Jamani, or that's his real Jamani. His real name is Jamani, but J Money, and I Blast. I went to school with him, and so like I would hang out with them, and they knew a bunch of dope rapper like Street, and like I didn't. I Blast like knew Logic's then, but I didn't meet Logic's till like a few years later. Urban Logics.
Yeah, I know Logics.
Yeah. So yeah, I linked up with them, and they were like rapping a lot. And there was like this other dude I didn't know about, Kaliko. He was making beats too at that time, and they were called like they were like the basement raps. Like they would like rap in his basement and record and stuff like that. But like at my crib, like people would come over and like record at my house, but I just had like a shitty like computer mic,
Hold
and we
up.
just
So
like
you were like a high school studio for like people who would go on to like dominate the city later on.
kind of, but like
I mean, you can diminish that as much as you
I
want.
they never really recorded at my house. That was like later, the Peso and like Jungle. They would like these
Okay.
dudes I knew from DG. They would come by and like rap.
So shout out Duska for a follow. Also, if you're down, Duska's the guest on Wednesday. So there you go, everyone.
Yo, shout out
And shout out Golden Coast, who's here, who's the guest on Friday. Look at that, everybody.
Fire beats.
Yo, big fire beats and all the love. Shout out Dozy, who lives in the hood. I don't know. Dozy's fucking cool. One of my first shows he was involved in that when I got into the game. So big respects to him. But yeah, back to you. So you're basically in this position. You make beats. You go to school with some notable rappers, which I guess introduces you to the whole idea of a Montreal rap scene.
Yeah, well, it wasn't even that. It was just like them, like freestyle. And this guy, Stack Lucci, I went to high school with him, like, because they had all gotten kicked out of other schools and then came to Marymount. And I was like fucking around. They weren't even beats. They were like loops. They were like some of them were like pretty good. Like they were good ideas. Like thinking back, I wish I still had the CDs of those like they're long gone, and like that computer's fucking gone. So like I'll never get those beats like ever again. But there were some like cool ideas. I remember like sampling fucking Full Metal Jacket and like some other stuff. I like sampled the Beatles and like a few other things. So I had some like pretty like cool like interesting beats on there.
How do you?
I remember like skipping school one
get
day
a
and
sample? Like at a logistical. Let's say I wanted to sample a thing, and somebody were to say, Holden, go sample something. Like I could probably do some bullshit bad sampling job, but like how do you actually sample something? It's something I never asked anybody. But you're an ill sampler, and so you literally know how to do it.
Well, I mean, depends what you're using. If you're using an MPC, you could put it right into the
What's
MPC.
an MPC?
It's a ICAI MPC Musical Production Center. They have that. That was like one of the first, not one of the first, but it was like one of the first like really well known. There's been a bunch of other sampler workstations before that, like but the MPC is kind of like a standard in like hip hop, and or the ASR10, the eSonic ASR10. That was different because I had like a whole keyboard, and the sample rate, like you could just sample a lot more. But then there's the SP12. That was like a lot of amazing producers used that. RZA used that back in the day. RZA used like a bunch of different things, but
so anyways, that's look for the part you want to grab and then just cut it.
Yeah, well, okay, like how I've always made beats was with computers. Like that's how I started making beats. Yeah, I've worked onto like hardware. I've made beats on like drum machines, MPCs. I had like an MPC 500, but I mostly just do stuff on DAWs, digital audio workstation, Fruity Loops. That's like what I've tried Cubase and Ableton and Cool Edit and Machine. There's fucking numerous different digital beat making things you can.
This one's Reaper, everyone.
Reaper.
I just had it open, so I flashed it on top of you for a second. That's Reaper. Anyway, that's the one I use, but it's just that, yeah. So I know that records the audio, right? So I get that.
You could record it directly into it, but you have like a sample time. Like so now it's probably whatever you can. There's probably like you can probably record as much as you want, but back then it was way more limited. So like what they would do was just they would like speed it up so they could get more time and then slow it back down so you could have like a longer. So like you have like a 2-3 second sample rate. Like you can only record for like 2 or 3 seconds or whatever. So they would like speed it up so they could record more and then slow it down so they'd have more to like chop. That was like the more limiting like beat machines back in the day. But then with Cool Edit or what I used before and used sometimes SoundForge. I think it was made by Foundry. Now it's owned by Sony, but before it was like Sonic Foundry, and right. I think they sold it to Sony. But yeah, SoundForge is what I use to like chop up my samples. So you basically like drag in your MP3 or WAV or FLAC, whatever, and then you listen to a part and you're like, oh, you hear that, and then you chop the part out that you want. It should be, make musical sense, like be on a time signature of, you're gonna want to have at least like a 1, 2, or like a 1, 2, 3, 4, ideally, and then you chop that, and then you build your beat around it. Your drums, put it over. You put like a break over it, or.
Fair enough.
I don't know if that explains it.
Nah, it's dope still. Everybody cares about this stuff. For you, it might be like, whatever. Nobody really wants to. I don't know how you feel about it. But for me, it's like, yo, so you take a part of the beat and then you put in the fucking file thing and then you find it and you use the magic of the computers to make it sound bless. But no, I mean, your version was more eloquent. I did follow that. I guess it was more like the idea of sampling software, because like to me, I would do some bootleg shit, like load it up into my like DAW and then find my like 4 seconds I want, and then cut, and then I would do something with that. And I don't really know how good or bad it would be, but it would probably not be the best.
Well, that's pretty much it. But it's just like. It's like after a while you get to like you'll like see like a WAV file, and then you're like, all right, it starts there and then it ends there, like the part that you want to chop. So it's just like after a while it kind of just like it just becomes, you're like, oh yeah, I know it's from there to there. That's like what you can kind of like gauge how much you want to take out.
And then do you put a lot of effects and shit to like fuck up the sample, or do you like leave your samples kind of naked for the most part?
You can fuck with the. I like to fuck with the tone a lot. Drop the tone, like make it sound lower, the pitch, and then like in Fruity Loops, there's a thing when you're time stretching it. Like you can time stretch it, and then there's like resample or tonal. I usually do it to tonal, and it will like kind of, it regulates it to sound what it will, what it's supposed to sound like, but at the slower rate. So it like recalibrates the sound, so it doesn't sound like ultra slow. Like it sounds kind of like pitched to where it should be, but it's slower.
No, it's fresh. No, I'm following all of this. I don't know if y'all were following all of that part. Sometimes I don't know how detailed we need to go, but it basically is using the magic of the computers to make the sample sound proper with like magic. That's basically what's happening.
Yeah, and then I put a phaser on it, and there's like, I mean, there's different like, effects.
I actually don't know what the fuck a phaser is.
It just kind of gives it that like warbly kind of sound, but I'll use like the Moog preset in it, so it's very like slight like detuned, like I'm gonna get like, it just gives it this like little warbly, very like vague with kind of warbly sound in it.
That's mad French, man. Mad French, fresh. I meant to say fresh. I don't know why I said French.
It's very French.
Nah, I like this though. This is cool. I enjoy like hearing your creative process. I really, as much as I love talking to the MCs, it is the Griselda sound. You do make the Griselda sound. That's fresh, but you obviously did it before.
That's one thing I do. I like to say I'm versatile. Like that's like, I don't like, oh, I make that, like my sound's grimy, yeah, but like I can make a trap banger. I can make like a Wu-Tang Griselda banger. You do
not have to tell me about your skills.
I can make a fucking dance banger for you.
Bruh, you know, like, that's, you don't even know everybody.
I fucked with like reggaeton. I can do some house shit.
I have all faith in your versatility. I sit there and listen to your beats like every fucking week, man. And it's always like this crazy, like, that's Vince too? That's like, I would argue anybody that's ever listened to like a whole lot of your shit in a row inevitably hits that. That's you at some point or another, but it's always you, and it's fucking great. However, I absolutely 100% do think you got a lock on that fucking Griselda sound, and it's very appealing. It is very appealing.
You want to call it that, but I mean, I just like that's.
I know it's not, but like it's just modern branding.
East Coast, like.
You could argue sound, it's like the Wu-Tang sound.
Yeah, or the Mobb Deep, or
I would lean more towards the RZA.
Okay, well, yeah, well, I for the longest time RZA was like my favorite producer. Sadly, he's kind of taken a backseat to beat making, whereas like Muggs and like Alchemist have only gotten better, and RZA's like, I don't think there's like, and man, still like some of his best beats are like the best beat like that I've ever heard, that like, and I'll say they're like better than Alchemist and Muggs beats at times. And like, but the shit that he's like, the last shit I heard from him, I was just like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, he almost became too much of a like musician. Like he tried to get like too like intricate with it and be like because he wanted to be like a conductor, like a composer. Like he got too technical with it, and just like it lost that like RZA edge or whatever.
Yeah.
Hold on, I gotta.
No worries.
Can we take like a 2-minute
Don't worry, we'll go play some Vince Pryce music while we're making this happen, and when you're back, we'll do it. Welcome back.
Welcome.
I remember what we were saying beforehand, but I still think this is a pleasing conversation.
We were talking about.
Oh yeah, just it's just more the Griselda sound is more of like a pop way to describe the situation.
No, I know.
It's obviously not like they innovated it. They more like revived something to a pop sphere.
Yeah, that's it. And they're working with all the people that I like or that I've it's a more stripped down sound. Like but it's kind of nothing that those guys like RZA and Muggs and Alchemist to an extent didn't do already, but they just like kind of stripped it down, like made this
Buffalo version
or like grimier version. But it's just like, it's not only them, like it was just like Rock Marciano kind of started that wave, and Huss Kingpin and those guys, and
big facts. But at the end of the day, when it all comes and says is done, Griselda popularized it again in a way that was not done. I say that like Griselda was big for me, man. Like I got into them heavy. Like on my Twitter for Behind That Suit, I have Rhymesayers and Griselda up.
Oh,
It's like
I love
those
it,
are
and
the
I'm
two
a
favorites
Muslim,
to me right now.
and you know I have the
But
Beat Butcher sound packs, and
I swear I don't listen to their songs twice. But they put out so much music, I can listen to them all once, and it's just fucking beautiful. With the exception of Plugs I Met by Benny, because that album is just a masterpiece.
There's a few mixtapes that I go through of theirs, or mixtapes, albums, you know.
Just to be real, yeah, I don't re-listen to a lot of music with my life, but they're really like fucking blessed. So to me, it's like to say that like you're like that guy. That to me is just high praise. And it's not like that, but all the people you mentioned are like legacy things. Like even straight up when I met Vince, he's like, "Yo, you got to check out this Mugs." And then we watched the Mugs and Flea Lord shit. Like you fucking real with it. All right, so let's go back to like high school, because we can get onto this forever, but we still have like this whole fucking like journey that you went on past high school when you actually start getting into your shit. So I assume you said somewhere at the end of Marymount you really got into beat making. So
yeah.
So I guess we can. I
started. I guess like when I was like 18, 19, I started taking it a bit more serious, and I was like, oh, you know, I'm actually kind of good at this. Like I guess I just fucked around with it more, and then I'm trying to like, man, sometimes like thinking back on your life, you're trying to like remember like years or like what you were doing, like because I was like I remember the phases, but I'm just like when was that exactly, like what year was that? Just trying to like piece everything together.
I mean, you can always just tell it in the not super linear fashion of just what happened, and we can just piece it together as we go.
Yeah, because there was like a while I wasn't even like working with rappers or whatever. I was just making beats. I just like doing it, you know, and I was always like, oh, I want to hook up a rap. And there was like a few people like I like linked up with in my neighborhood, other than like the eye blast or whatever. It was like Peso, like I knew him, like this guy K Peso, because it was like at that time I was really just like a mad stonerish, like watching like a lot of movies with like my homie Khalil, and we were like trying to like write movies, and like it's like I was making beats, but I was like really into like movies. Like I wanted to be like a filmmaker more at that time.
Right.
Because I was like obsessed with like Tarantino and like Robert Rodriguez, these guys who'd like made their own movies, and like there was just this whole like kind of changing, you know, atmosphere of like independent filmmakers in the like early to late 90s.
No, fair enough. I mean, you can totally talk about the movie passion too. It's a huge part of your life and like all of it. So like it's just part of the Vince Pryce story to me. And if you were burning doobies and watching movies, that's a very relatable part of my story too.
But I was still like making, I was still making beat, like, so then it was probably around like 2005 that I linked back up with this dude I'd met like a few times, Max from NDG Coma. He's a graph writer, and he knew like C's Rock and Logics, and they were putting together this this project because I'd been talking to him on like MSN and like sending him like some beats that I did.
Who are you talking about on MSN?
Coma. This dude Coma, and he went to school with C's Rock.
Right. Okay.
And then like I like linked up with that. Like I sent him some beats, and he was like, "Yo, I'm gonna send these beats to my friend C's," and then C's liked them, and then I ended up going to this dude's house in VO. He lived near VO, and there was this dude named Matt, and he didn't even have a producer name. And his older brother like made beats too, and we would record at his house. We recorded this project called like Winter Wars, Volume 1 and 2, and it had like Seas Rock, Urban Logics, and Johnny Hostile, like all these. It was like a 2 CD project of all these like up and coming rappers from like Uptown and NDG. It's still like a pretty classic. Like it's still like really like good. There's like some good songs on it. Like I'll go back and Lost One. That's how I learned.
You have all this music.
I do. I have it like on my computer. Like I have it.
Yeah, that's nifty. We're gonna talk about that after. So
yeah, that's like when like I really like started taking it a bit more serious. I'm like,
so you ended up making beats on that project, is what I understand.
I made a few and I rapped on it. I have like a song or two.
Rapped on it too?
Yeah, I have like a few songs.
Are you Vincent Pryce back then? Or
I was Technician.
Okay.
Technician. That's.
Yo,
I don't know if you can see.
I can see that you got it tatted on you for real.
Oh yeah, that's because man, that was my name that I came up with in high school. Technician, because like to me it was like the lab is where you record your music, and I was like the lab technician. Like that was my reasoning behind that name. Man.
Yo, I don't hate it at all.
Mad people know me as Tech. Like they still call it, like all like Logic C's, like all these people, like they still just call me Tech. Like they know me as Tech.
Interesting. That's good to know. Because I bet people might even talked about you in like other stories, and I had no idea that you were the Tech they were speaking of. If that came up, I don't know. But now I'm going to be listening for it, because I know Logic's pretty well at this point. And Logic's is, if you've ever known Logic's, now known as Don Lennon, that guy can start off a story of an answer of like, how was your day? And 90 minutes goes by with a whole history lesson on Montreal in the middle. Yeah. And that's just 90 minutes. And he eats like a little meal in the middle and shit. And it's like a whole experience. All love though, because...
Could definitely attest to that, yeah.
But that's just really what it is. So he might have just dropped your name like 7 times and I had no fucking idea.
Yeah. He's like, yo, Tech.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was Tech for like a lot of years. I was the technician. Because I was like, it was the RZA, the Alchemist. So I was like, I have to put the makes it official,
So you basically linked up with them. You sent them some beats. It lit the bug on your ass, and you started impacting Montreal hip-hop history pretty early on.
I mean, I guess from like 2005 onward.
I mean, if the Anglo side of the scene starts in like the 90s, we'll say, 2005 would be like, what, 1/3 of its existence. I would argue
10 years later,
it would say early on is an apt description of your impact on shit. That's big respect, Mr. Vince Pryce. So you basically contributed to the projects, and then what happens?
We did like a big show at Focaccia, which was like a resto bar lounge on, was it near McGill, kind of?
And you're also an MC at this point.
Yeah, did I rap at that show? I don't know if I rapped at that show, because I wasn't that like confident in my rapping. Like I rapped a bit, but I wasn't like, I was like, yeah, I want to be more of like a producer. Like I want to make beats, and I like kind of rapped on the side, because even though like I started rapping before I started making beats, but like making beats to me was always easier than being like, yeah, I'm gonna be a rapper. Like,
well, fair enough. So you guys go to the show, and
there was
you got to go to the show as just part of the squad.
Yeah, and there was a lot of people there. It was like a crazy show, because it was like everyone that was on the mixtape was there performing at the show, and it was like me, this other kid, this other Matt. That's how I linked up with Maps, who's like the co-founder like a Mook Life, and that was like a whole nother movement like in Montreal hip hop scene that I was like part of. It was like music and graph scene, and
I think nobody fucking knows what that means, and I'm mad curious about what that means.
What?
Mook life.
Mook life?
My guy, you know what I'm trying to do in my bigger picture. Of course I want to hear more about the Mook life. I don't know what it is. I know there's a Demook going around. Is the Demook related to Mook life?
No, the Mook has nothing to do with Mook life.
I mean,
because Mook is just like it's a term. It's just like, yeah, this guy, he's a fucking Mook.
Is it really? Like, I had no fucking idea.
What does the word facetious. Sound? No, but what does it sound like to you? Mook. You're a fucking Mook. This guy, he's a fucking Mook.
I guess when you say it like that, okay. Yes.
It was like in Mean Streets, the Martin Scorsese movie, and this guy, he's a Mook. He's like, what the fuck you mean a Mook? And they get into a big fight about it or whatever. But a Mook is just like, it's a fucking...
I mean, I get it at this point from the context that you've given, but like, I literally just never thought about it before. Okay, so what's this Mook life thing?
I mean, it started off as like my homies like that did graph that I linked up with through like the people that I know from like St. Luke. Like it was all the St. Luke.
Yeah,
St. Luke. It was like Seas Rock and like Paul. Like it was just Coma and like all those dudes. They did graph. So I was like, and I started hanging out with them because a few of them rapped and they were like Seas Rock and like, and then they knew people from uptown, and it was just like from doing this thing, hip hop you don't stop, and it was like in at Kent Park or something, and they were trying to be like, you know, rappers, like up and coming rappers. So
yeah, they still like hip hop you don't stop is still a thing.
Yeah,
they're fresh.
Was it hip hop? It was like it was something like that. It was like, was it hip hop you don't stop? Anyways, they like C's and Logic's had met because of that. So like I met them after the fact. So they had already like linked up. So it was just like this like slow like progression of things. And I was just like kept in contact with them, and I moved, and then I moved to West. And then somewhere in between that time I had like met Cool Man CL Cracked Lips at a Cool Keith concert.
What?
And
that's fresh.
I went to go see Cool Keith, and I brought a beat CD to give to Cool Keith, and Crack Lips just happened to be rapping in front of him, and he was like, yo, y'all two should like hook up and da da da. And we didn't. That wasn't even we didn't even hook up from like that on a musical. It was level. It was like maybe like a few months or like a year later that we had like my brother's friend Corey brought Crack Lips over from like a house party to like rap at my house on some like beats that I had like on a CD, and that's like when I really like met CL. But we had like met before that, and I didn't even know who he was till I met him again. I'm like, oh yeah, you're the guy at the Cool Keith show or whatever. So I gave him beats. He's like, you rap, and he's like, and he makes beats. Y'all should hook up. Da, da, da. Cool. Like, so in reality, Cool Keith kind of like
he blessed this dude.
And yeah, exactly.
There you go, Cool Man Logan. That's an exciting origin story of Cool Man Logan and Vince Pryce. That's for real cool. So Cool Man Logan is rapping in your room, and
what year was that? See what year was that? It was like what, 2007 or something?
Something like that. It's gonna be a little delay, so that's why I started talking over it. But either way, so you're rapping there over that. So it was 2095. Thank you, Cool Man Logan. This is just 2005. Okay. I was like, I wasn't sure if he's trolling or if he was being like sincere. So 2005. Shit, man, I'm still in high school in 2005. I finished high school and start Abbott that year.
But I was going to I would go to like rap shows alone. Like I didn't even like I didn't have anyone to like go to shows with me. I was like working. Like I moved out like 2005. Was I out on my own? Yeah, I think I lived on my own at that point. I would just like work in restaurants and like make beats and like fucking watch movies for hours and like smoke mad weed.
That's fucking fresh though. Like, I mean, it's fresh to get this insight into like the context of who you were. I mean, you went to a bunch of rap shows, you did your thing, you met Cool Man Logan, and then he's rapping on your beats. Do a lot of rappers come through and rap on your beats at this point? Is this like a big thing that you're doing?
Not really. Not really. Not till like after after when I moved to like the cusp of like Westmount NDG. Like I lived on Victoria.
Right.
And then like Siege Rock and Logics, and then they would come over and like record like bullshit versions at my house. And I think I would go to like this guy Doctor. He was a dope producer too, and Maps, who was like the Mook Life dude, and he used to just rap back then and do graffiti. And we'd like record these like songs at people's houses and stuff. But hold on, because I want to bring it back a little bit to that first Winter Wars, the mixtape, volume 1 and 2. We recorded at this guy's house, Matt.
Okay, I do know what that is.
Winter Wars?
I've heard of it.
The volume 1 and 2, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, so we recorded at this guy's house, Matt, who lives near VO Metro, and this guy like loved making beats, and his older brother who had like introduced him to it was like pretty good, and like, but then this guy now is an internationally known producer, and he's produced for Kesha, fucking Britney Spears, like a bunch of like high up like pop stars, and he goes by Billboard. But like back then he was just like we recorded like some shitty rap songs at his house, and he had these amazing like hip hop beats, and like he had like a few like house beats and pop style beats and stuff and reggaeton, like, so there was like the early, like you could see the early stages of like what he would become. But he was just like a really like talented producer, and he was asking us, he's like, yo, what should I call myself? He was like this French Quebecer kid. And he's like, what should I call myself? I don't know. So, and I think Coma gave him that name, like Billboard, like Matt. And so he was just like, for the longest time, he was just going by like Matt Billboard, or like, he didn't even have a name. He was just like, but yeah.
So basically, already off the jump, you're working with like legends. And I mean that. Like, look at Logic's now. Everybody, like, Logic's is just to show up on a post and you see thirst. You see thirst when he shows up, right? And I get it, man. Everybody has seen Logic's do his thing, and we all understand the power that guy brings to the table and all the things. He apparently is back on Facebook, is what I saw today. I was like waiting to see if y'all accepted his friend request before I did.
I did.
So I saw that, and he posted that end of the week. I'm like, no, that's dope. That seems legit. But it's like to have them come through and to make like these bigger monumental moments, because like a lot of people don't know that on the Anglo side, it wasn't like it is today where everybody's popping off single after single after single and shit, right? Like there was only like a handful of opportunities or operations that were actually producing projects.
It was like MySpace and shit, and like a few things,
but like people that were really like organizing full-on projects and movements and things like that with the level of frequency, I don't know how many there were, but if you ask anybody I've talked to previously, they make it sound like there wasn't a lot happening on the Anglo side of things back then.
No, not really. So it was like the people that I were with, those were the people like making noise, other than like Widget and them, and like the like Black Sash and shit, like who I like kind of knew, but like to me at that point, like even Widget was kind of like intimidating to me. I was just like, oh, I don't really know him. Like I'm just like, I was always kind of like, people would just like approach me. Like I just like thinking back on it, I'm just like, it was just like, I showed my music to like a few people, and then it was just like, oh, and it was like back then it was just like you didn't really know a lot of people that like made beats, so it was just like if you made beats, people would be like, oh yeah, he makes beats, and they would like link up. So you'd get linked up with the rappers in your neighborhood, and it was just like that's just kind of like how it happened, and it's just an organic thing. It was just like it just like grew, and then we did those few like shows, and then. Like I remember them doing the show, and they actually had like the tickets, like printed tickets for the show, and they were like selling them, and it was like a thing. They like made money. It was just like I was there and I was just like part of this thing, and I was like, oh, this is fucking awesome. You feel like you're like part of like this, the industry, or not the industry, but you're just like, yo, I'm like making music, and it's just like
they were like riding a movement.
Yeah, and then
like
the
this
first
was
time
like the Royal Peasants era, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. And then like I like rapped at this talent. It was like a fucking community like thing, and I like rapped with C's Rock and this other guy Rashad, who doesn't rap anymore, make music, but Shad Speck. And I remember like that was my first time like rapping in front of, because like I wrote a song with them, and they're like, yo, we're gonna perform this, and I was like, oh yeah, okay, all right. Then I did it, and I was like, had to like remember the verse, and then I like spit it. Like I'm like kind of like half remember. I remember I had like a Biggie like shout out or something like in it.
That's dope, those. No, but I mean, like, you were like in this. To me, it's like, I know for you and I are not going to see this the same probably, because back then, I was in the West Island at that point, so I'm like out of NDG entirely. And B, I wasn't involved in the hip hop scene at all, right? Like, it wasn't like a thing in my life. So then you come into it later on, and like iBlast is this big name, and Logix is this crazy rapper doing his Big Bang Montreal, and who didn't run through Big Bang Montreal type thing, and you're seeing all these people, and you're just like, yeah, back when they started, I'm like the dude in the basement that they was like chilling with, and we was just making me. I got beats on that like big project that everyone speaks super highly of. It's just no big deal and shit. And I know I was performing at these legendary shows that people talk about, like the greatest shit that ever happened once upon a time. I was just there. It was cool. It was nice to be a part of it. I'm like, yeah, it sounds blessed. Don't even get me wrong. It does seem like a cool thing to be a part of. But like, that's like, these were like big moments that like I don't think a lot of people really know even happened when people consider, especially when you look at how people talk about the city today. And it's like, nah, like, y'all need to hear like what Vince Pryce and these people was doing back when we were in high school and shit. Cause y'all are popping off that early shit. I'm in high school. I'm only finishing it.
Yeah, no, it kind of, you look back, it's like, oh, it kind of paved the way for certain things or whatever. But like, it's just it's a natural transgression,
Yeah, but you were a part of it, so
natural
it's
transition. And yeah, I was, but I don't know. I guess you can. I was like, it is what it is.
Like, people can apply whatever significance they want to apply to who's more important than not. That's not really my place to say, but I think everyone that did their part and contributed to the greater picture. Like, am I here today talking to you? Is there a Crossroads Cypher? Do any of these things exist without all of y'all making these albums and almost legitimizing a scene enough for somebody like me to be able to show up at like fucking packed little shitty bars in 2012? Like, y'all created that, even if it wasn't there for that much longer. But like,
it's all a bunch of different different things, because it was just like,
when I say y'all, it's a lot of people, but you were one of those people that deserves the flowers, and I think it needs to just to be exemplified. It doesn't matter, dude. You're on that project. You got a verse on that project.
I'm gonna like look up those. Like I have it like somewhere. And I think I even have the CD.
But do you not like? I know you're not like thinking, but I'm just like, bro, that's like Montreal royalty. That's what it is. I mean,
it was GMP. It was Golden Mike Productions. That was that was what it was. The crew was called Golden Mike Productions, and there's I have saw like C's, Lost One, me, Johnny Co-Star, Doctor, like Maps, like, so it was like it was a mix of like original and like and then industry beats, so it was pretty like interesting in that like aspect. So it was like original Montreal music, and then like rappers like on fucking like industry beats.
That's fresh stills. So basically, y'all make that happen. You link up with Cool Man Logan. Cool Man Logan's rapping on your beats in your room, and then what happens next in your story?
Well, with CL or
just life, your life. I mean, that's as far as we got. Cool Man Logan's rapping on beats in your room.
2005. Yeah, then some like. Yeah, I was living there with Maps, and then our place got robbed. He was in Thailand. I don't know if I can like talk about that stuff, I guess.
Yeah, there's whatever you can't talk about. Fair enough. Like I don't want to like. Yeah, it's complicated, right?
Hey,
like,
you got selling weed. It was like a long time ago, so I was just like, I don't know. It's like.
I mean, usually selling weed a long time ago is on the like nobody's really gonna think a huge thing. Selling pounds of weed out the room is no. Selling, you know what you know what I mean? Like, there's ways to describe it, like without being like super like.
Oh man, anyways, that's like a crazy long story.
To be fair, like, I'm not trying to go down the drug dealer story. That isn't my intention here. I'm not trying to get anybody to snitch on nobody.
But it's just like I was like, that's like, see, I would like come to that. I don't remember. I stayed in touch with him, and then I was like living on Queen Mary, and he would like come like check me there, and it was just like we didn't even really like work on music then. Like we just kind of like chilled and like listened to music, and he would like show me shit. We were just kind of like friends, and then it was just like during that whole time, I was like making beats like here and there, or not here and there. I was like making a lot of beats, but like. I was like work on songs, and like things would like come out here and there with like C's and like Logics or whatever. And then when I was living there, the place got like robbed because of some like fucking dumb, stupid like misunderstanding. And I was like, I was there when the place got robbed. And then it was these like fucking like janked up fucking Iranian dudes. And I was just like, I just don't want to live here anymore. So I like moved back home with my mom for like less than a year. And then like I moved in with my brother. And I was still like just like making beats all this time. And then it was like around 2010, we started I was like, yo, CL, like, let's like make a group with Cynical, or so like you guys do a song. And then that's kind of how just like Murderface kind of like came about. I was just like, yo, we should do like a group, because like CL was gonna do like a song with Cynical. And then Cynical was like, yo, can I bring in my boy Shells? And Shells, like I kind of knew from the Royal Peasants, because he was like part of that. It was like Logics, Flex, Lost One, Miriam, and Shells. Cynical, and I had known them from Logic's spot, the Udio, the Uder Water, and it was like right by Atwater and St. Antoine, and it was basically like a crossroads, you know, of all of Montreal's like English talent, and some French too, because that's where I like met Monkey. And like that was
so cool.
I met Monkey there. I met Mark the Magnanimous there. And like that place was just like, it was this like bohemian like transit station. It was just like Montreal rappers, like street people, drug dealers, poets, like just like all walks of life like came through that place, like whether you're like buying weed or fucking recording music or whatever. And like it was just like that was like a very like formative kind of like stage of my life too. Very like interesting. I like made a bunch of music there with like Logics, and like learned a lot about like religion and like the Hebrew Israelites, and like that whole thing. Like,
I mean, I know in explicit detail what you mean.
Yeah, because then like that whole man, like so many things like happened, and I'm just like trying to like recount it all, and it's just like when did that happen? What year? Like I'm trying to like piece everything together, and it's like.
I mean, it's like you're still getting this general sense of things. So it's like you start off with them post high school, you get the reputation in, you get involved in this bigger projects. The Royal Peasants kind of be. I heard about this spot before, right? Basically, the way it's been brought up
Yeah,
to
that was
me
like
is
a
kind of like
legendary.
what you
Like
were
he
talking about.
built like a studio. Like he built a soundproof studio in his loft that like unfortunately when he had to leave there, like it just got like I guess they just demolished it or something. But it was just like he spent like a few grand on like soundproofing that like this like amazing thing. Like we made like a lot of songs there. There's like hundreds of songs that were like recorded there. Not that I wasn't a part of all of them,
No,
but there
but
was just
like
like a lot
I
of like
think it's like really important to talk about just because it kind of goes back to that like this global theme that keeps recurring as we talk to different people. Mostly Ismail brings it up a lot, but I guess it's a fair thing. It's the idea of collectives. And labels versus collectives, and really what happened there was some collective shit. It was like you pick a resource, you could find it there, and people wanted to be there. That was the other side of it. Like it was like people saw the bubbling of what bigger was coming is what I understood it, and they made
yeah.
shit happen. And it was like nifty as you described it, just everybody from different walks of life, and it's like fucking blessed, just the idea that these kinds of places could exist, almost like these neutral grounds where like people
Yeah.
could congregate and actually get past the egos and the whatever, because chances are there's going to be somebody in the room that could murk somebody, you know.
It's very likely. That's what was so crazy about it. It's just like there's this like hippy dippy chick there. There's just like this girl that does a braid up. Oh, here's a guy that he's just like a fucking graffiti like rapper. Oh, this guy's a rapper. Oh, this guy's a drug dealer. Oh, this guy's a fucking just like, and they were all in the same room together and just like chilling, and it was just like this weird transient space.
But that sounds like Montreal more than a lot
Mm-hmm.
of things I've heard sound like Montreal. Like people think they try to like eyeball this Montreal shit with these weird things. That's the most Montreal shit I ever done heard. That is really what it is when you go to any one of these events that are popping. It's those group of people at the Jazz Fest. Everybody you described there is who you're gonna see in different portions with parents at the Jazz Fest.
Yeah, pretty much.
So I like that a lot. That's interesting. I'm going to use that as a barometer for my new what Montreal is type thing to move forward. So I appreciate that a lot. This has been fucking blessed so far.
Yo, man, I am Montreal through and through, like born and raised. Just like this city, it's a gift and a curse. It's the beautiful weather, it's shitty weather, it's broken streets, but like mad trees on each street. Like we got like so many like trees in the neighborhoods, and it was just like you grew up around like nature, but you're still in the city. It's just like what good street, bad street. Like one block is like cool, like the next block is like, you might see someone get shot. So it's like that's Montreal. I know.
I mean, what's weird is how like that's not NDG anymore. And
Not
it's not.
anymore. No,
And
no.
so there's like a whole bunch of people coming through that are never going to like, like it's gentrified. It's like really, really gentrified now.
Yeah. Well, I saw it happen, but I was also like I was out of like I haven't lived in NDG since like 2010 or 11. Then I moved uptown. I lived uptown, and then after uptown, I moved to Verdun, and then that's where I've been since.
I was in
Yeah.
Verdun in like 2012-ish for a bit. I had the most amazing arrangement. I fucked up. And then I left Verdun for NDG, and I've been here since like 2012.
I'd love to move back to NDG, but it's just like it's crazy expensive now. I'm like,
which is just crazy to think about. Like I swear, the average rent price in NDG goes up $100 a year, no problem. And you're like, wait, wasn't it just like 1,000 for a 3.5, and now it's like 1,200 for a 3.5? And that's in like my neighborhood, which is like Fielding, Rosedale type shit, which is not supposed to be like $1,200 for a 3.5. Like that's some like serious numbers. But that's where we're at with it, and it's like I suppose it's cool, but I don't know. It's just like Like, I mean, I grew up when, like, you know, McDonald's was there. I wasn't like around that part, but I used to have birthday parties at that McDonald's and shit. And like my parents would be like, "You can't go on Walkley." And I'd be like, "Why?"
I had my first McDonald's pizza there.
Yo, those McDonald's pizzas were lit. All right, so
yeah.
So let's go back to Murderface. So you basically link up with Cool Man Logan, who wants to do a song with fucking Cynical, and Cynical's like the homeboy Shells, who was formerly in the Royal Peasants, should also be on.
I think at that point they still were kind of, you know, Royal Peasants affiliated. I mean, it's like they didn't like you know, officially like disband or whatever. But
I know exactly who could clarify that for us in the future. Logics, that's
yeah, pretty much.
Gotta
go to the bathroom.
Yeah, do your thing. So that's okay, everybody. How are y'all doing out there? How y'all feeling? I appreciate all y'all watching that you're with me. So this time I can just talk to you. Verdun used to be my neighbor in Point St. Charles. Respect. Cool Man Logan. I forgot where you're from, to be honest. But yo, I'm straight like Côte Saint Luc, honestly. I know it's whatever, but I was like, yo, I was born in Uptown though. My like I was like conceived and popped out the womb on Bourrette Street. So technically I think we were Uptown for like a year. And then there was some cockroaches business that went on. So with these cockroaches, they were like, nah, we ain't doing this shit. And we ended up in like near the golf course, Côte Saint Luc for a minute, and at my grandma's house. And then when I was like 5, we moved up by like Edinburgh in Côte Saint Luc, across from Montreal West. So like that was more where I was at. But like I suppose if you're like there, you still spend a bunch of time around NDG, but less like in the NDG. So like I didn't really enter NDG so much until like I was, I don't know, mid-20s maybe. Early 20s? I don't really remember when 2012 was. That many years ago. 24 maybe? But yeah, Côte Saint Luc was my shit. I went to Wager. Did the whole fucking Cavendish Mall life. Yo, the Côte Saint Luc Public Library used to be the bomb diggity back when motherfuckers who was not with a Côte Saint Luc address could actually go there. So back when I was young, and it was like the super littiest library. It was like one of the best ones in like Canada type thing. And then they did the one island, one city bullshit, and everybody was allowed to go to the library, and it fucked it up. It was less litty, and I think it was a sad thing that happened. Anyway, welcome back. Yo, when they like did the one island, one city shit, and then all of a sudden everybody could go to all the libraries, because it used to be like you could only go to like your hood's library based on your address. And so I was blessed enough to have the Côte Saint Luc Public Library on some, like, we lived across the street from the border to Montreal West shit.
I just went to Fraser Hickson.
I used to do karate there for a minute. So I wasn't, like, taking up books and shit, but I did karate when our shit ended up upstairs for a minute. Anyway, so you linked up with all the Murderface boys, the Shells, the fucking Cynicals, the fucking Cool Man Logans. And then what happens? How does, people want to know the story of Murderface a little bit and how it all comes to be.
It was just like 2005 to like 10. I didn't like do anything. No, because I was like 2005. Okay, yeah, 2005 to 10. I was like working on stuff with like Logics and C's, and like things came out in like 2006 and 7. But a lot of the music that I like worked on, like other than like with C's Rock, a lot of the music that I worked on with people like didn't really come out, because it was just like recorded like a lot of music with Logics, but like so much stuff didn't come out because they were just like, oh yeah, it's gonna be for this or that project, and then like all this movie, like I'm sure he still has like probably hard drives fucking with the hundreds of songs that like are never going to come out, that are just like sitting on his hard drive, like all this music from that time. I think I might have a few of the songs on my computer that I personally recorded with him, but like I know there was like so many songs, like, and then there was like one song I recorded. It was it came out on Monkey's album, and it's like Logics and Monkey, and it's on my beat. It's about dreams. It's like a song. It's a dope song. You can check it on. It might be on Spotify, on Monkey Spotify, but I know it was on his like album that he released.
Yeah, that's mad cool that you know all these people.
I got it there somewhere. Anyways,
like I was talking to Vincent Pryce one time, and he's like, "No big deal. 2 of my friends are Grammy Award-winning artists type thing." And I'm like,
Dungeon Doom.
And I'm sitting there going, "Damn, man, my homie's Vince Pryce, and look at all these people he's friends with. Like, Monkey's one of those dudes that are like legends, and like, he's so."
Oh yeah, it's true. Because I was like making making music. I was trying to do like stuff. Like we were trying to like come out with all this like these crews, like different. We were called like the Crew, and like. So it's like I was like part of like 2 kind of like different like worlds in like the hip hop, I guess, like more like underground, and then the like the more, I guess, like not mainstream, but the more like the Logic's and like a C's Rocks or whatever. But then like so I was like kind of like had a foot in like both those worlds. Because I would do shows with. I had like some songs with like CL, and I would like rap, and we tried to like make these like like the Crew, and what was the other thing? The Others. Fuck.
What's the Others? Like,
Who is in the Others?
I don't know what any of this is. Like, to me, this is like
you don't know anything because it was nothing. It never like amounted to anything really. It was like me and CL and BK and
BK Brooks.
Yeah.
Man,
and
PK Brooks makes
my buddy
too.
The Shaw, and like this other guy Midnight, and like we would do these shows at like fucking.
See, I would perform as the
Bar
Others.
Waverly. The Bar Waverly, but now it was at the time it was like Bar Saint Laurent 2, because there was like Bar Saint Laurent, and then this place was like Bar Saint Laurent 2, so it was like the part 2. And it was just like a shitty like fucking pool table, and like a bunch of like rough and tough gruff like crooners and ruffians, and we'd do these shows to like fucking like 10 people. It's pretty funny.
Yo, but that's like, I mean, it sounds funny in hindsight, but like that's part of the grind. I mean, in the part, like, if you haven't done those kinds of awkward shows, it's almost like, are you really a performer? Have you really performed to people that don't really give a shit about you? Until you've done that, you're not really in it, in my opinion. Those are not the same thing as an invested fucking audience. Cool Man Logan is dying to get on the Zoom, I see. But I'm like, Cool Man Logan, you can clarify later. We're going to finish this up, and then we can have clarification session with Cool Man Logan at the end. Because this is the Vince Pryce story, you know what I'm saying? This is the Vince Pryce story.
I almost want to let him in, but...
No. I have a feeling of how that goes the second he comes in. And I appreciate it. But here's the other side. Is I then have to do some fucking switcher bullshit on Zoom where I'm flipping back and forth. And nah, man, I hate doing it like a lot. So at the end, sure, yes, I know, but we want the Vince Pryce story from the perspective of Vince Pryce, Cool Man Logan, and you can come in at the end for clarification. Anyway, this is what's happening, my guy. I appreciate you so much, Cool Man Logan. I really, really, really do. But so basically, y'all are there with the groups practicing.
Because he remembers things like differently, and I'm like,
it's cool, but this is your version. We can have the Cool Man Logan version after. Anyway, so you're doing the shows to the people with the collective that amounted to not a lot.
It's still fun though, because we made some like good songs.
But that's like, to me, really, like, you're looking at it a little bit like, nah, man, this is just like, it didn't go anywhere. And I'm like, no, that's not true, Vince. You were like out there being a real group, performing to people, doing some shit. And people, as Cool Man Logan saying, love the shows. You know, like, I guess from a perception of...
Love the show. No, there was a lot of good shows. It was like...
So from like a perception of like, okay, did it amount to like what we would consider in today's market, this, that. No, it doesn't matter. I spent like 20 to 24 just dreaming of doing what you did, you know? Like, to me, that would have been it. When I did my first show at the bar, it was like the craziest experience ever. It was like, that was so cool. For years, that was like amazing. It was enough. So like, that sounds blessed to me. I mean, I know it's like whatever, but y'all are like young, learning how to work together, practicing songs. You could make the
2008,
debate.
yeah.
But you could make the argument that people today put out like shit right before they've tested it and get it ready. The real value to open micing is to try out your songs.
Where else did we perform Green Room? There was like Green Room that doesn't exist. I think it burned down, but that was like a pretty dope spot. It was all these like little like bars on Saint Laurent that we like do shows at, and it was like CL and BK would book it. We did like shows with this guy Atherton from Ottawa, who's like part of this group called like the Leathers. And like he would bring like these, he brought this like guy in from like Buffalo, New York, named like Dude Computer, and it was like this weird like indie fucking like white boy rap from the States. And like he was just like in line with this like we do like CL and like BK hooked up with that dude Atherton, and like he was pretty cool, and he's like still like, you know, he has some like he's like an OG like dude from Ottawa, and they do like a lot of shows in like Montreal and stuff. And we did some shows in like Ottawa at Babylon Club. Like I would be like the DJ, and it would be like CL and like BK, and like those are some pretty cool shows too.
Yeah, I can see you
on like a Wednesday night. We like drove to like fucking Ottawa, like Wednesday night, 9:00 show. It's like raining. There's like 10 people there. Like,
you know, here's the thing.
That was great. I was like, yo, we're going to Ottawa to do a show. It was like,
so you put a cinder block in your fucking school bag. That's hilarious.
Oh yeah, so he put a cinder block in my bag once because he was like, yeah, I might have to like fight this guy, so I like need a weapon. And I was just like, I picked up my bag and I was like, what the fuck? Like my bag weighed like a fucking ton. I was like, why the fuck is my bag? I'm just like, yo, why the fuck are you putting your bag, fucking brick in my bag? Because he didn't tell me that he did it, and I just like tried to lift up my bag, and it's just like...
That's hilarious. That's really cool though, and I'm glad you brought it up, because this is like, sometimes I think people don't have context for like what a grind really feels like, especially back in the day prior to the internet. Now, I'm going to be the first one to tell people the internet grind is not a simple thing to do correctly and to do sustainably. But it is certainly not like on a Wednesday night, drive 2 hours to another city to go stand in the rain with cinder blocks in your bag level of stuff. And then have to come all the way back after, probably, because, I mean, what, you're going to stay in Ottawa? I mean, maybe you did. I don't fucking know. Probably depended on the night.
No, I don't think we did. I think we... Did we? No, I think we drove back. Like, I don't even know who we went with.
Either way. So, so that's, like, real commitment. Plus, already, you haven't even, like, really popped off or anything, and you performed in multiple provinces of this country, which is something that most of us can't even say we did. So, big respect. Like, I don't know if you realize how amazing these accomplishments actually are.
Yeah, Saphir was there too, yeah.
So, like, to me, it's like, yeah, CL's like, no, these are all the hard facts. Cool. CL, run it. People can see it on the screen. You contributing, my guy. Vince, do you realize how cool this is? This is fucking cool to me. I just want you to know that popping off to Ottawa, it doesn't matter what anyone else has done. That's amazing in and of itself that you guys had that level of dedication and grind to push it through and not wasting time. That's amazing.
I mean, I'm still here, so it's like...
Yeah, but like, you put in that work consistently, you know? And that's still part of the process. That, I mean, what do you think, like, going on tour is? I don't think a lot of people think about what actually the logistics
No, I know, it's a lot of... It's not... It's like, yeah, it's fun, but there's a lot of not of fun. A lot of not of fun. Just fucking like, driving around from venue to venue and doing the same show over and over again. It's just like the gratification is like meeting the fans or like being on stage and just like it's like, yeah, you're doing the same songs over and over again, but it's like it's draining, but it's also invigorating at the same time.
Which, you know what, most of us don't have that problem because we performed like infrequently at different places, and we always had new songs. So it was just like, yo, check out my new song, guys. You know, how many times have I even done that? I don't even know, too many.
Yeah.
So it's like, yo, you guys set up a show, like you planned out your whole show ahead of time.
Honestly, a lot of that is like on CL and BK. Like they booked all those shows. Like they had the foresight to do that. They were like, yo, you do this, so like come. And I did what I did, like all right or well. So
Fair enough. So I mean, what happened? So at that point, apparently Cool Man saying that in the green room night, y'all end up creating Murder Face, but like separately, is what I think I read.
Where did he say that?
Way earlier.
Okay, yeah, that sounds about right. Because I remember like kind of creating Murder Face after this, like
at your house.
Yeah, at my house, but like coming up with the idea for it, it was like I went to this Halloween party with CL that we were like supposed to rap at that we didn't end up rapping at. It was like this party that was like in this fucking apartment that was above the Belmont.
Okay.
And they would have parties and throw shows there too. It was pretty lit. It was like, I guess it was like a loft rave type of thing. And CL had like performed at one before, so he's like, yeah, I rapped at these parties, because he knew this guy that like lived up there on Saint Laurent. So that's like how I got like kind of like linked into that whole like Saint Laurent party scene at first. And there was like Friendship Cove and shit like that. That was like another spot that CL would like rap at.
Interesting.
It was these like there was like these alternative like after hours kind of like venues. Not even after hours all the time, but they would just like throw these like weird. It was like this like rock rap music. It was just like hybrid of like music and shit. And I remember like definitely CL introduced me a lot to that. Like that's how I met Chuggo through him. Chuggo's like this dude from Toronto that had like a viral hit. Come on, fucking guy.
I don't know.
No, and it was a pretty like viral hit on the internet. It's like this Canadian viral thing, and yeah. So and we went to this Halloween party. We were supposed to like perform there. We didn't end up performing, and then like during that like after that night, I had like come up with the idea of like, yeah, we should do this group of like CL and Senecal, and I was like trying to come up with like a name. It was like Montreal Mayhem or Massacre, and I just came up with like Murder Face, which was I guess kind of a subliminal thing now that I think about it, because it was from Metalocalypse, and there was the bass player William Murderface. So I'm sure I'd like heard that his name before, but to me it was just like kind of like linked up as like this fit, and I was like, yeah, what about that name? And we're like, yeah, let's do it. And then that's kind of like how Murderface was born.
So then you make an album. That's what I understand.
Yeah, it started when I was living from Queen Mary, when I was living with Maps, who would later make Mook Life. I moved to Avon, and I was living with my brother and my homie Khalil and this dude Mike, and they had like their own band, and I was like making beats, and my brother was downstairs and he was like with his band, the Cosbys. So it was like it was just like a music fucking house, flop house. Like, and there was just like people in and out, a lot of drugs, a lot of like, things going on. And CL and Cynical and Shells would come by, and I would just play them beats, and we would like write songs and record, and then those songs eventually became the Murderface songs that we went and recorded at this dude Soke, who's like a pretty dope producer and rapper in his own right. But that would link was from, I think Cynical had that, and he was like, yeah, I record by this guy Soke, and we went and recorded the songs there. And then CL with his links, he mostly like got us the shows. He would like link up, make the shows, and then I was like, all right, I'm gonna get the CDs made, I'm gonna get the t-shirts made, and yeah, we would just do shows, and we had t-shirts and CDs and fucking sell them, and we do shows. Like Lowe's started booking us for his like night, Step Your Game Up, and then we opened up for Tech Nine, and we opened up for Onyx, and yeah, we were just like, we were doing a lot of shows. We did some shows in Toronto because like CL Syndicate would, I don't know if they were battling, but we did a show with this dude Mookie Wilson, who like was part of or he was like a rapper, battle rapper from like Toronto, Hamilton, and he got us a show at this place called Vapor Lounge or something. It was like this, you could smoke weed in there. Like weed wasn't legal then, but you could like smoke weed in there, like no tobacco. It was like in Toronto. We did like a show there.
Those are the literal best venues I've ever been involved in because the crowd does not go outside.
Yeah, but they just sat there high, not reacting to the songs. It was the worst thing ever. And then like when we were done, everyone was like, yeah, man, that was cool. Like everyone came up to us and said it was like dope. So we were like, all right, cool, we did a good stuff. But literally everyone was just sitting down like high, like watching our show, like not reacting. So we were like, did we do a good job? Like
I like it though. That's okay.
Oh yeah, corrupt. We fucking, I think that was the first show we opened up for, Corrupt from Dog Pound Gang.
Yeah.
And that show was fucking dope, and like Shells fucking freestyled with Corrupt, and like that was a pretty crazy show.
Nah, weed people sound like a crazy audience to have to deal with, but I don't know. It just seems like they'd stay inside, and opening up for Corrupt.
They did, but yeah, that Corrupt show, that was dope.
So that's a lot that you've already done, and it's like what, 2010 to 2014 or something like that. That era. This is all going on earlier.
Probably like like 2010 to like 2012. We like ran that Murderface thing for like 2 years without like recording any new music. Like then we like joined this group Gigante, and it was like all the English Montreal like underground scene in one, basically. And it was like the Boom Bap Cats and like Penzo Gritty and Logic Johnson, Slick Jack, Spook One, a bunch of producers, Katola, DJ Fat, there was a French people. It was just basically all of like the Montreal underground in one. We tried to do our own like Army of the Pharaohs.
Okay.
Type of thing in Montreal, but it was like the English and French like underground scene all in one. And we did like a bunch of shows and actually like made some money because we like booked a bunch of shows in advance, and we were like, we paid for it in advance. So like every show that we made, it was just like we paid for the venue in advance, and then we just charged at the door. So we like made money from like each show. And then everything went into one pot. We just all split it equally. So it was like a pretty good thing if we had just kept it going. But at the same time, it was just like not everyone was like bringing the same level of either commitment or talent. So it was just like.
Yeah, I just heard you say giant like super group thing.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah. Woof. Like, yo.
No, but we had like a treasury, like we'd sit down and have meetings, like we tried to make it this like official. It wasn't just like, oh, we're a bunch of rappers.
No, I mean like it sounds like a logistical nightmare to do.
It was,
but like
there were some cool songs that like came out of it, but like logistically it's just like, yo, this is like 30 people or something, like you're trying to like maybe not 30 people, but it's like a bunch of people.
And
like,
I'm not hating on this at all. I think it's fascinating. I'm looking at it like, yo, I would love to understand that better, just so like we can see if
No,
can
well,
it
they
be
kind of did it with
reproduced.
the new money. They did like a new money thing, and it was like Boy Blue and all these like Magnum, and like it was like a bunch of like Montreal rappers that tried to. They did this thing, New Money. They did a show. They made a lot of money. Like I don't remember exactly what venue it was at, but it was like at a pretty like big venue. We did our thing at um not Billy Coon, but it was like right beside it. Um, on Mount Royal, going up Mount Royal. It's like right near Mount Royal Metro. Not Overvoir. Fuck, what's the name of the place?
I don't know. I'm not that
Anyways, they
familiar with
don't
the
they
scene.
don't do like they like
Oh, Opacho
oh
Vis.
Petrovis.
I
Yeah,
have in
exactly.
fact performed there. Never mind. I know exactly where that is.
Yeah, there, and then like they don't really book hip hop shows there anymore. Now they
No,
don't do hip
they
hop shows.
don't.
So we booked like a bunch of shows there, and they were pretty successful. Like we had like a lot of
Um,
we got a lot of people because it was because the sheer amount of people that we were. So it was just like it was like yeah, obviously. So it was just like one show would be like a certain amount of groups from that, and then we did like the Murder Face album launch with like a few other of the people like it was like Art Cons and like someone else that like opened for us, and then Art Cons album launch, and like we opened for Art Cons, and there was like another group that like two had the like two openers or whatever, but it was all like people that were in the group, like everyone kind of got like cycled through and everyone got their like their shine or whatever, you know. So some shows did better than others, but it was just like
yo, but that's like the most interesting. Yo, I've had the versions of this chat a lot, but the way you're breaking it down is like something that probably needs to happen as like we
but we
as
didn't have like this like incentive like oh you like it's like yeah sell tickets to come to the show, but it was just like I don't think we even had pre-sale tickets really. It was just like
but I'm
we
saying like
just
beyond like
promoted the
physicals
show
and
and people
shit.
have to come and come to the
How do you
show.
get people to come to a show? But like it sounds like you guys did some really interesting stuff there, just like what I heard you say to me from like a marketing breakdown point of view. You had this squad of people who were collectively built around a solid brand, one like bigger moment. And with that, each of these people were able to ensure that X number of people were able to come to different shows. But y'all kind of collectively rotated and pivoted, creating a sense of familiarity with the acts
Yeah,
across
for
the show.
sure.
But it's kind of like similar to what like Hodges and them were doing in the West Side at the time,
Yeah.
and like laying down that regularity, the same people coming through, the same kind of general core group of like things, so that people could get like attached to something. It's kind of the opposite of showcases.
Yeah.
Not to say that, but you had like showcases, but like it's almost like you look at it like the showcase is WrestleMania, right? Like it's the big thing. And then you have the little season events that like build up towards like the WrestleMania main event where you're really going in with the 27 track set or whatever, as Cool Man Logan said. That's like a nifty thing to play with that people should like consider before everyone competes to fucking throw the same show 100 times. What I mean is like just large, vastly like everybody. Anyway, that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
So I think it's just cool that you shared that. Like that's nifty to me. It's just something like to think about. So y'all did that, and then it got complicated.
Yeah, then it just kind of I don't know, like things kind of like just like it was like too many people. It was just like we'd have meetings and then like half the people would show up and half the people cared about it and the other half didn't type of thing. And it was just like yeah, and then like Murderface started deteriorating and there was just like all sorts of like infighting there. And then I just started to kind of do my own thing, like producing, and I was just like um this was like what probably 2000 like 11 12. Then I started like getting like a bit more into like bass music and stuff and like experimenting in that like dubstep and bass music and um then my boys started like Mook Life, and they started after that started throwing parties. And Mook Life was like a website, is like a lifestyle website of like graffiti and just like the like this other like alternative side of Montreal, like after hours partying and like chilling in the park and like mad like weed delinquency smoking, just like this kind of like vagabond lifestyle. um and then but they started like throwing parties, and it was like one of the first, I think it was like Wiggers from the North Side, which was like a play off of some 3-6 Mafia shit. And they would just play South music. And then Maps got linked up with Tommy Cruise, who had like started like making beats and DJing. He was from like Quebec City. And then we started throwing these parties, and they just started like getting traction, and like people were coming to these like underground parties of us just like playing like underground South music, because that was like the whole wave of like from like like ASAP Rocky and them. But it was just like I remember hearing like 3-6 Mafia shit in like like 99 2000, and being like, yo, what the fuck is this, like crazy? Because I never really like liked South music like that way. Like I didn't like the fast hi-hats and stuff. Like I was always like kind of like that purist. I'm like, I really like the West Coast. But then I heard like 3-6 Mafia, and I was just like, I equated it to kind of like Wu-Tang. I'm like, these guys are like the Wu-Tang of the South, kind of. They're just like this crew of like people, and they're all like so different, but they fit together and have this like weird dark like sound, and they like sample music from like horror movies and like weird shit. And like so I like became very like a kind of attached to that kind of sound like that. So I'm like, I started making like more fucking like southern style beats, and like being influenced by that stuff. And then my whole kind of style of beat making like switched up. So I like switched from like this like very East Coast like dark sound to this kind of dark South sound. Because I was just like, oh, this is like a whole nother way of like making beats. So it was just like the drum template were completely different than what I was like doing, like making like, so it was like a challenge to me also.
Yo, that's so nifty. Like, first of all, it's so nifty that this party series happened. Like, I didn't know any of this existed, dude. You gotta understand the rock I'm under. I'm in this call center all the time, fucking working, like, fucking for... I did some, like, insane overtime shit. And then I would just randomly get booked for things and go perform. Right. And have literally no entry or gateway into, like, this next tier. I didn't meet any people... Yeah. Honestly, I got lucky that I met Logic's a hip hop karaoke type thing. Like I got lucky so many times.
Well, like because during that whole time, like I still like knew Logic's and them and like Maps. And I was like, I was doing my own thing, but I was still like, I still knew them, and like this whole like underground graffiti like thing was like happening, and then they just started like the graffiti thing started moving to the internet and like becoming like this search board thing, and then like a website, and then like it just kind of transformed into like doing parties. It was just like a bunch of people from Montreal, like this underground like scene of like graffiti writers and like just like party people and musicians and DJs. And that's kind of like what like Mook Life was. It was just like this weird, it became like my second part too of like what Logic's studio was. It was like that. Mook Life was like that. So I like knew all these like other types of creatives, like artists and like DJs and like not some rappers and stuff. But then like with that whole Mook Life scene, like I got like linked up with like the whole kind of like but like the Vice kind of scene, like of like the underground Montreal music scene, and like after hours, and like the DJs and artists that were like coming through that world. And that's like how I got like linked up with that, and like just going after hours, and then like being a DJ at these like after hours like jams that were just like being thrown and like in the like fucking plateau and the like area like above that Jean Talon and stuff.
Right. I mean, I know what you're talking about generally. I didn't know any of this was happening. I'm just going, holy shit, I was living under a rock, my guy. Like, seriously, that's what I'm like. And it's kind of like, it was cool because, like, you had to know about it. And if you didn't know about
kind
it.
of. But it was like my first DJ gig was at, it doesn't exist. It was, what the fuck was the name? It was right beside Trash Bar. Do you know Trash Bar?
Nah.
No, it's on, oh, fuck, what? Prince Arthur. Prince Arthur, and sure, what was it? Koi.
Koi.
I
know Koi.
Yeah, there was they used to do the battles there and stuff, but it was like, that was like this, like, anyways, we threw the first, like, one of the first, like, not one of the first Mook Life parties, but that was the first one that I DJ'd at. And that was 2012 or 13. Like, I can get you the exact date or whatever, but yeah, that was my like first DJ gig. And then I would just started DJing at those Mook Life parties, and then from that, people would see me DJ there and like book me there, or I would like link up with other people in the scene, or just like holler at them like, yo, can I play at your night or whatever. So that's how I kind of just got linked up in the whole Montreal like DJ scene, is just from playing those like Mook Life parties.
So basically you're doing that for a while. You're part of this wave. So you're part of like multiple cultural phenomenons in the city.
I guess you could say that, yeah.
No, I am saying that because you said it throughout your interview. Maybe you don't contextualize it like that, but if you're part of that Mook Life thing, and you're also part of the whole like studio thing Logics and them had, and you're also on this next album thing that paved the way for Anglo artists to even have a thing.
2012, August 6th.
Oh man, that's like so early, for real though. That
was the poster.
Shit, that's like so back in the day. Look at that graphics. So yeah, I literally just didn't know any of this shit was happening. I know who Red Dread is. I do know that name. I think it was Hip Hop Karaoke or something that linked that
but
up.
Fuck, they had already gone to, okay, like, hold on, let me look at when I look at my Facebook, I can tell
I just made like no effort to talk to these people is more what happened. Like, I would meet people and stuff, and I made like no effort to
because
like,
Mook Life brought down Action Bronson for the first time.
For real.
In 2011. It was like Mook Life Lookout, and it was at Lambie. That was like a fucking dope show. So it was like, yeah, it was like around 2011. I was like living on King Edward. I'd like moved out of Avon, and then like Murderface was still kind of happening. We were doing like shows and shit. Gigante was happening like around that time, 2011. But then I like started like merging more with like the Mook Life scene. But yeah, then we did shows at like Catacombs. And then when was it? 2012. Then because of like Mark, I started linking with the Art Beat. You know Art Beat?
Maybe.
Like loop session. Anyway, that's a whole nother thing. Like K-Tronada started at like Art Beat.
Are you saying you're linked up in a whole other thing that was big?
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
Art Beat was I guess a showcase just for like Montreal producers to like, they would book shows and just, it was like Montreal up and coming producers playing their beats to a bunch of people, and no rappers, nothing. It was just like a round table of beat makers sitting down, like each playing beats. Like it was go through a round of like beats, and I was at one of those. That's in fucking May 2012.
So this was like a really lit time to come into the game, man. Like, I didn't even realize a lot of this was happening. Like, I started rapping in 2012, like, for real. And this is, like, some heavy shit. I had, like, an ego. And it's, like, the more I hear people talk about this shit, the more I'm sitting there going, my ego is stupid. Because, there was a lot going on at this time. Like, a lot of legend happening at this moment. So you were basically
May and June. And we did, like, probably, like, one of our last, like, Murder Face shows at Cabaret. And we did this Cabaret Underworld hip-hop showcase.
Did and it was Aspect Mendoza.
No, yeah, kind of. It was, like...
So I remember some shit where Clary, or I don't know. I remember hearing
it was Aspect Mendoza, General Q, LES, Murderface, Spook 1.
That's the last June one 23rd. Ever.
That was like one of the last.
So why I say that is because I can vividly remember there being a Murderface show that Clarity opened for. That happened.
And I think that was at.
That happened after I started rapping though. So I don't.
What fucking show was that?
And there's like no way I got there off of like my first performance. So it would have been like August, September maybe that went down of that year. And then I don't remember after that much. But okay, Cool Man Logan saying, I'll tell you guys if you let me in the Zoom. He's too fucking funny. All right.
Yeah, I don't even mind, but it's up to you.
No, I mean it's up to you. You're the guest. We've gotten a lot of time into this. I'm like, okay, it's fine, Cool Man Logan, because like I said, if he wants to come at the end, but I mean, still, we're 2012, and we've already gotten, let's say, so much Vince Pryce. Let's be real. I don't know how much of your story is jam packed between 2012 and today. To be honest,
2012. It was like kind of the end of Murderface, the beginning of my like Mook Life career. Went to Toronto for the first time with North by Northeast. I didn't perform at that first year that they went, but I was just there like.
It was Jello Bar. I remember that because I remember vividly deciding not to go to that show. I had no idea that was probably silly, but I remember distinctly saying, "Nah, I'm not going to that shit" for some reason or another.
That was like a pretty lit show. It was kind of good. I remember that
made terrible choices in 2012. I can't say I was a smart guy. So, okay, we'll let you in soon, Cool Man Logan. Soon, just a little bit more. Abuse some patience with us. We just want to get through this last blitz of the Vince Pryce situation because we're coming up to at least one big highlight's going to happen that, is pretty cool. That comes later on. But like...
Mook Life. Then I did after that.
I love the fact that you're like looking at Facebook and just like
and then August. Wait, that was August 10th. And then, that was a big month, August. Then because I played with fucking Tommy Cruise, Ryan Hemsworth, Guilty, and then me. And I played first, obviously, but. That was like at this place called Eastern Block, and I don't think it exists anymore, but it was like this big loft, and it had like different rooms, and it was like an after-hours spot, and it was up like on past like Jean, like in the fucking industrial area of Saint Laurent, and like you can't hear shit for like miles, so they just put on like raves and like after hours joints there.
Yo, I swear I went raving in that part around those times for a little bit.
It was called Eastern Block. That place was pretty dope. It was like really fucking nice. There was like a whole like outside you can go do and chill, and there was like different rooms. Like it was like one room was like rap, one room was this, whatever. Like but yeah, I don't know if you know who Ryan Hemsworth is, but he's like a pretty
My brother was in the rave scene for a few years at that time.
So yeah, it was like Tommy Cruise's like birthday, and he like I want Ryan Hemsworth to like play at my birthday, and like at that time he was just like he wasn't like super like as well known as he was, and I think he like did the party for like $200 type of thing. So like that was like my first like big thing. And then I did like another Murderface show at Death House in October, and Chuggo and Woodman and Urban Logics performed there. They were like the guests, and it was like Murderface Presents, and it was called Barbarianism. That's the flyer that I made.
Bro, that's like a wicked lineup stills. I know I've seen that flyer. No, I know I've seen that flyer before.
I fucking made that in like Photoshop when I first like got it, and I kind of learned how to do it. And I would just take like these like Grindhouse movie posters, and yeah, it was this was like the good Death House.
Yeah,
that was like the times that was like me, Shells, Tommy Cruise, like DJing with it.
That's fresh, man.
Then it was the Mook Life Halloween party.
Yeah, nobody like literally has this kind of documentation on their career like this.
2012, yeah.
That's serious. Like there was so much stuff happening.
So yeah, October 6th, I did that Death House show, and then October 12th, I did. So I was like simultaneously going back from like Murderface to like the Mook Life shit.
Okay.
And then Murderface just kind of like fizzled out, and then I just continued to just like DJing and like making trap beats and playing more like dirty South like trap music, because I was just like, what am I gonna play at these parties like fucking DJ Premier and Wu-Tang? It was just like, no one wants to hear that shit anymore, you know. Like by that time, like that type of fucking rap, like no one wanted to, like they didn't give a fuck about. I didn't even give a fuck about it. It's just like I still listen to it sometimes.
Parties. It doesn't make me feel party. You know, like it doesn't put
me. No, but like at that time, like trap was just like really, like 2012. It was like Lex Luger and fucking like all this like dirty. Like it was like the resurgence of the dirty South. Like it was like the ASAP Rockies and fucking all that shit that came out at that time. And it was just like this new, and it made me like love making beats again. I was just like, oh, there's this whole like other style of like beats that I can like get. Like I had already started to kind of like make that type of these. Like I'd always kind of like liked Wu-Tang as much as I did 3-6 Mafia. So
right
when I like figured out how, I'm like, oh, I can do these types of beats but still like maintain this kind of like grimy, dirty like aesthetic to them. Like it was just this new kind of energy, and I had been going to like a lot of like raves and like, you know, getting into that whole scene, like, and that type of music has this like different type of energy to it. So it was just like,
yo, I feel that though, especially it's one of those things where like I don't know how to describe it, but unless you in a empty building, standing in front of a speaker, tripping off your mind, feeling the bass in a new way, it's hard to really describe to people why that shit's blessed unless you've like done it. Some people might just empathize, but nah, man, I really wasn't into all of that until I like was in the right environments to embrace the music, and then it's like, nah, it's really fun after that, even like when you sober up. But like it's such a crazy transition, and then you end up doing these when does the Mook Life thing like stop?
Well, this is what, still 2012.
Like 2012 is a hot fucking year.
That was like a peak, yeah. And like we went to Toronto again, and I like DJ'd at the no, was that the same year? Did I go? No, I think I was just there visiting. Then I did a song with C's Rock, Scary Movies, on his like I did 2 songs on his like Zero Gravity mixtape, and that was me and a bunch of like other producers, and there was Indo 514, who was part of Les Anticipateurs. That's how I like linked up with them after, but that happened. And then by this time, I think I was like living in Uptown, and then I started DJing at like On Cachette. My homie like Coma, who I'd known from, who linked me up with C's Rock, linked me up with another job at On Cachette, and I was doing like Wednesdays and Thursdays there. Then I was doing like some parties at the fucking Death House with my homie Shaw, and then in between there and like On Cachette, and then playing the Mook Life parties. Yeah, I was just like DJing a lot. I'm like looking back, I was just like DJing this whole time, like 2000, this is 2013 now, May, like DJing at Death House on Cachette.
Yeah, I wonder if you ever
Underworld.
like. I wonder if it just like happened that like I ran into you back then and like no idea.
Maybe it's possible.
I wore a suit.
Snoop Dogg, I was doing some random shows at, and then then I went to Toronto and did the North by Northeast, which is like the Canadian version of South by Southwest. We had a showcase. We were supposed to like do one. It was like either with Smith and Wesson or Joey Badass, and this one Joey Badass was like first like coming up, but Maps was like, "Oh, I want to do it with Smith and Wesson because they like." He's like, I grew up listening to that. He's like, I don't really like give a fuck about Joey Badass. He's like, in hindsight, he's like, that was a bad mistake because Joey Badass would have been the one, because that show we went to it after and it was so lit. It was like Liz Frasco, Raz Fresco was there, and like a bunch of like industry people from like Canada and the States were like there at that show. No one was at the fucking Smith and Wesson show. It was just like,
yo, that's a big lesson. Like, that's a knowledge nugget if we ever heard a knowledge nugget.
Yeah.
Focus on the young. The old is the old. And I know that's, like, sounds harsh. Like, sure, there's the vanity side of saying, yo, I'll perform with Smith and Wesson and whatnot. But the reality is like, when you said Joy, I'm like, that's like when Pro Era was coming through and, like, about to dominate, like, fucking music for about 5 or 6 years. Like, when Joey Badass dropped his album in 2017, he was, like, on top of the world type thing. And so it's like, that's a huge lesson. Really, really cool. Are you still looking at your flyers?
Yeah. Yeah, because then I reached out to this girl, Mayday, DJ Mayday, and she had a night at Salon Officiel, and it was this little bar on Roy. And then Saturdays, they'd have these like super lit fucking parties. And they were called Please Me Saturdays. And I reached out to her because like some of my homies Tron from like Mook Life were like DJing at those parties, and I'm just like, yo, I want to rock with that. So I like reached out to her and I was just like, yo, can I play it? And she was like, oh my god, I'm so glad that you reached out to me. So I became like a regular on those. I was like in the rotation of DJs for her night there, because she would have like a Saturday, and like that was like a super like, because she got paid $300 every Saturday. So she could either take that $300 and just DJ the whole night from like 10 to 3, or like DJ with some other DJ and split it $150 with them for the whole night. So sometimes she would just do it the whole night, and other nights she would get me or Redhead or Nikki Raisins or fucking Tron and split it like $150. So that was like an easy like, and you just go, you play like for like 45 minutes. And then, or she would start off the night, and then you get there at like 11 or 11:30, 12 when people started to pack in, and then you play, and then the people are just starting to get loose, and then they're getting drunk, and then you can start playing whatever the fuck you want. And then after, you just go like back and forth and like DJ. Like that was super fun. Like those are some really like fun nights. Just like playing, like first you have to play some crowd pleaser at first, and then when everyone's drunk, you just like kind of play not whatever you want, but you can get a bit more like, oh yeah, I'm gonna play this like deep cut from like a fucking like early like 3/6, and everyone's just so like fucked up, they're just like, they don't care, and they're just like vibing with it or whatever.
Big DJ tips from Vincent Pryce. All right, so you do this for a while. What happens with the Mook Life? It ends at some point?
That's 2013, and then 2012, like 2003.
Now we're going back.
Yeah, well, 2013, and then my mom passed away, and that was kind of like, that was a weird time for me, because I was like partying a lot, and my mom just died. So I was just like, I don't want to feel sad, so I'm just gonna like continue partying. So I just kind of just like, I didn't really process the whole grief of that till like years later, right, type of thing, because I was just like, I don't want to feel sad about this, so I'm just gonna like fucking plowing right through. Obviously, like I was sad, like I was cried about it, but I didn't like really process the whole like gravity or grief of it till like years later.
Right. I mean, that's serious, still. Rest in peace to your mom and but
Thank you.
So you partied on through that, and then are you still DJing?
Well, yeah, there's
period?
like I'm DJing. There was like like Mook Life parties. I'm DJing. Then I did another I did another art beat thing with Dapi. He's like, I don't know if you know who he is, but he was a pretty big producer. There's A Just and like from and Rough Sound. They're like, you know, Loud and Larry.
Not really, no. That's why I'm trying to.
That's like a big. They're like huge on the Loud and Larry. You know, from they're like huge on the Quebec. I see like a Loud like sold out. I don't know if he sold out, but he opened at the Bell Center. He like had a show at the Bell Center, and AJS Rough Sound was like the they were like the producer aspect of that. Young Guyans, she's a DJ producer, very talented female voice in the city. Grand Buddha, they're all like, we just played a bunch of beats at what's it called? Is that Belmont? And that was like a fucking crazy lit night. Like we had as much people as like a very well-known like American artist could like pack in, and it was just like us beat makers like playing beats all night, like no rappers, nothing. It was just like us playing beats on stage and like keeping the crowd fucking lit.
That sounds fucking fresh though. You know, people need to do more things like this still. I mean, I don't even know if this was all happening pre-COVID because I wasn't paying attention to any of that shit because I was lost in my like rapper world. But
that was like October 2013. Then November, me and Mayday started these nights at Cabaret Underworld, Rapture. It was like a hip hop monthly thing, and it was like me and her, and then we would like bring in like a rotating like DJ. That lasted like for a little bit, and then still DJing. Started opening up for artists as a DJ at this point, like Cool Keith. I opened up for, and then I would DJ for like the artists at the show type of thing. A lot of stuff at Underworld. And then me and another dude from Mook Life, what's his name? Hugo Chavez. Me and him he started this night at Trash Bar. We started like doing, you know, bi-monthly things there. Still like DJing with like Mook Life. This is like 2014, December. Then I started linking up with Untitled Chapter and like producing for them. Then their things started blowing up, and then I was doing stuff with Shells. I started linking back up with him from Murderface, and we started like working on our own like kind of music together. We did our first project that was like 2015. That came out, what was that? Some time ago. We had like started working on that album like 2000 like 13, 14 or something. And then it only came out in 2015. And then yeah, I don't know, still like DJing and just like producing. Hold on. Yeah, and then
yeah,
I don't know, just started releasing a lot of instrumental projects at that point. And then from the whole art beat thing, I got like more known as like a producer and just like releasing. And at that point, a lot of people were just like releasing, like you didn't even have to like put out something with a rapper. You could just put out like an instrumental project, and it was like interesting. Or like, and I was always into like having like a theme about something. So like my first one, I was like making a lot of like trap beats. So I did Trapped in the Dark, and it was all these like very kind of like dark trap beats. And I like took a cover from some like old grind, like exploitation movie, and just put like Vincent Pryce and Photoshop that together. It was like a EP I did, and then and then I linked up with Colonel, and then I don't know. It's kind of just like not a blur, but between then and now, I just kind of just been like releasing a lot of instrumental music, and then like working with CL. I just did another project with Shells, and I don't know. Do you have any other questions?
Man, it's always questions. I definitely know that we blitzed through the last little bit of that, but I mean, it feels like,
kind of.
like you're at the point where, I mean, you're making beats and you're working with people, and that's just kind of the life. I know you have a kid at some point in there. I mean, that's more recent, maybe.
In the last, 7-8 months, I had a kid.
That's pretty fucking great. And I mean that's like really cool.
Yeah, I mean, like I blitzed through like a huge portion of like a lot of crazy things in my life, like
Man, we're
a lot
not
of
trying to
party. I was partying a lot and like going just like
we're more here to celebrate all the incredible shit.
I'm just like I'm looking at like poster and I'm just like, oh, should I talk about that? Just like,
so first of all, the whole like from 2012 on, they're still gonna have to do a whole second one of these to really, really, really unpackage some.
Yeah, because that was a whole. Like,
I was just trying to make sure we got through everything before we let Cool Man Logan come for a minute and let him feel like happy. I like you, Cool Man Logan. I'm giving you a zoom. And then my favorite part of your story is as of January 1st of this year, because that's when I met Vince Pryce, and properly. And then, yo, for real, y'all don't even get it. Like, on my end of that, it's like, I see a Facebook post from Soul I Am, and it says, I'm looking to do some cypher blue blue bloop. And in my head, I'm like, I've been meaning to do some online concert shit for a minute. And I had seen how End of the Week have been managing, and I see your questions, I'll ask it for sure. I see the End of the Week, like, Zoom cypher shit, and I'm like, that makes sense. Freestyling. Wait a second, it doesn't sound shit if everyone's freestyling, because nobody knows what it's supposed to sound like, right? And then I hit up Vince, and he's just like, yeah, let's do it. And I'm like, no shit. And then the next thing you know, all these beats appeared, and Vince started showing up and doing it week over week over week. I mean, like, from my perception, it's like, I didn't know who Vince was at this point. And I'm like, shit, that's a pretty cool guy to be working on this thing with. You know what I mean? Like, that's fucking legend shit up in here. Like, it just takes it to, like, man, your brow power is huge, dude.
And I never really, like, looked at it like that, but...
That's because you don't have all these people going, oh, you're with Vince Pryce. I'm like, oh shit, like everybody reacts to you with like
DJ Smokey. Yes, I did.
Yeah,
I did cross paths with DJ Smokey. Because I linked up with this dude, Mobile Pro, and he was this young up and coming dude from Montreal. He like reached out to me, and he's a cool dude. Young dude. He's probably in his like early 20s now. But he was like 17 or whatever when he like reached out to me, because he heard about me through this, like, because that whole Mook Life thing was like a huge like underground movement. Like a lot of like good like music and stuff like went through there, and it was just like throwing like underground parties in Montreal. Like it was pretty like well known, and it was just like, so if you did like music or trap, you knew about like Mook Life. And then eventually I started DJing for Mobile Pro at some of his shows, and him and this other dude, they brought DJ Smokey down. I forget, Hamilton, I think DJ Smokey's from. And I played some music, and I DJ'd Mobile Pro's set, and then DJ Smokey like finished off the show like just DJing his like crazy production or whatever at the Belmont. So yeah, that was a fun night.
man, it's again like I'm just like sitting here like you're just an incredible person. Like you still do it too, right? But also you've done it consistently, as in without interruption. There was no, I mean, okay, there was 4 years off-ish when you were half-assing it when you were 20, comparative to everything else. But like for real, like your story is basically like I learned to make beats.
But I was still consistently making music like all that time. Like
No,
whether
fair
or
enough.
not a lot of people were hearing it, like I was just like I've always been like, and I'll make
Respect.
music. Like I don't care if anyone listens to it. I'll still like I'll be making music till I can't anymore, like type of thing. Like
But like,
I do it because I love it, and
but
it's
like,
just like
you're
I
still,
want people to hear my music, obviously, but I do it because I love it. Because like I want to fucking hear what the
you know,
fuck comes out of my fucking crazy brain.
I definitely think it adds credence to Ismail going, you're one of Montreal's, or his favorite, but one of Montreal's best producer persons. Like it's probably like, yeah, dude, like you gotta claim to be made in that conversation in a
Well,
way
people have
where
told me that. I'm just like I'm you know, I believe it to a certain extent, but I'm not. I also don't want to be like, yeah, you know, I'm not like
that's why I use words like
like
one of,
braggadocious,
you
but
know?
no, man. But the people have, like a lot of people have told me that, so it's just like I know like I'm good at like what I do, so that's part of why I keep doing it because people
Nah,
are
but
still
it's
listening, and I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty good at doing this thing, so I'm just like, why would I stop doing it? Because it's
I
just
think
like
it's
one of the
more than the work.
few things that I'm like actually like really good at doing.
I think it's
And
you. You're a huge part of it. It's not just the beats. Like I feel like it's like your personality reflects into the beats in a sense. I don't know how to put it, but like there's a versatility and a freshness to it. But if you look at your life, there's a versatility and a freshness to it that is consistent. You weren't static with it. You found new ways to challenge yourself.
yeah, yeah.
You basically
Well, even now, like I've kind of gone back to like I still make trap beats and stuff, but I've like really like maybe that was all part of that the Griselda movement or whatever and the Rock Marciano. But I fell back in love with just like the simplistic of like finding like a really good sample and then just like a finding. But at the same time, it's just like that's what people kind of want to hear. That's like at this time, not like this kind of stripped down uh, version of rap music. Not all of it, you know. And I still try to do some like intricate stuff, but
that's
at the
another.
same time, I enjoy just finding like a really dope sample and then like accentuating that part, that dope part of it, and just being and like kind of making it my own in my own way or whatever.
Can I give you just another compliment here, just from my own personal feelings? I have spent about 5 months telling people to go on Twitch and do their thing, and you did it. You
Yeah, well, when I have time, I'm just like, oh, I got a half an hour. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go on Twitch and try and make a beat, even if it's fucking half of it's boring. Like
it's not
the
boring.
last one I did, the first part of it, my mic worked, and then the last part, my mic stopped working for some reason. So Willie was just like, yo, man, just keep going, just like make the beat. It's like we don't have to hear you, just make the beat. And
Yo,
I
it's
did
big
that.
facts. Willie spitting big facts.
Yeah,
Look at you
because I don't know,
crushing it, though.
the mic just stopped working. It was like.
We are waiting. Full Man Logan has
I don't know,
entered.
the
There's a
mic just
Full Man
stopped.
Logan. Turn off
Yeah, I
your
knew
Twitch.
Posty before Mook Life.
Yo, that's a big point. That's why the questions come through. Feel free to keep asking your questions. Also,
Posty worked at Sub V. That was a whole nother fucking link between everything Sub V and NDG.
I don't
That
even
was
know
like
what that is.
Sub V was a graffiti shop, and they sold clothes there too. And it was like right across the street from Bowfinger in NDG.
Did you try and rhyme roulette?
No, I didn't. I didn't try rhythm roulette.
Nah, for real though.
Like I know Osti from there, and like I actually like I made this when I went back to school at Concordia for a bit. I took the Narcy's hip hop class, and me and this dude we made like a mini documentary about NDG, and like it's like linked to like Montreal, the hip hop scene in Montreal, and just like the history of NDG, and we interviewed Usti. I interviewed Usti and like at Subv and stuff. So yeah, that was pretty cool.
It's just like so many things. I can bet you could probably spend the next hour remembering stuff. So we're definitely gonna need a part
I
two.
actually did go on my SoundCloud, and I have a remix that I did for Usti BS remix. It's still on my SoundCloud.
I can do that in real time if you want.
ZLMNL. What's it? Zimmel?
Yeah, I go with Zalmanel. Yo, he's like the realest, man. This guy knows.
No, he showed up on my Twitch yesterday, the other day, and I'm like, who is this guy? I'm sure I know him because he like was saying all these things of like people. I'm just like, so I want to know who you are. Because I feel bad. I'm like, should I
jump on? That's why you got to jump on the Discord where Zalmanel's up in there, and that's how Lemef spelt it out one time. So that's what I'm rolling with. What's this song called? The remix thing?
BS remix. I'll find it.
Vincent Pryce BS remix. Now you can tell your anecdote with the cars, or I think you said derby. I think that was a word. I might
Orange
be wrong.
Line Derby.
Alright.
Something to that effect. Basically, it was go along the whole Orange Line, get off at every stop, and drink a beer, or as many beers as you could drink, till the next metro comes. And do that along the whole Orange Line. And started off with like a bunch of us. I did like a few lines, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm good. Like I also like I don't really drink beer, so I was like, they all had like their beers, right? And I was just like, I was drinking like hard liquor. I had some like cognac or something, so I tapped out after like a few stops, and then like they got as far as like I think like Lucien Lallier or something. But then the next day, it was like because they put it up on the website, and then it was this whole scandal with the STM, and like it was on the front page of the Gazette and like the Le Devoir and like all this shit of like people because they started like pissing in the metros like live on the seats and like taking there's like all these pictures that were like there's like pictures of me that was like in the Gazette. You can't really like see my face because I was like far away. But like, because at the beginning I was there with them, so I wasn't there for like the whole like duration of like everything that they did, but they like stood out, like they just like caused mayhem along the Orange Line.
So that's what ended it, was that moment.
Yeah, and then from there the website kind of was just like, yeah, like it got too much attention to the website, and then it was just like they made it private after that, and then it just kind of like things started slowly fizzle out after that.
Fair enough. So Cool Man Logan, since you made are you coming on the call? Like, are you joining us, or are you not joining us, Cool Man Logan? Because you're there and you're chatting, so I'm not sure why. You're fucking. He has to pee. Fair enough. That's being said to everyone. So what's next for Vince Pryce?
What's next?
Yeah.
Now? I mean,
like the future.
I'm a dad. That's a big fucking thing. I gotta like, I don't know. I'm just keeping making more music and coming up with other projects and things I want to do. I mean, I've done things with like, Nicholas Craven. Me and him did a whole project together, made a bunch of beats and featured like a bunch of like dope English Montreal rappers: Deuce God, CL, Maurice Regal, Peso, Boy Blue, Chad Game, fucking some French rappers too. And yeah.
No,
I don't know, I'm just gonna keep making music. I want to work with more American artists. Dudes from like Rochester, Buffalo, like that whole like new underground scene that's emerging and stuff. I mean, I got music with CL coming out soon. I got music with you coming out soon.
That's true.
Got more music with Shells coming out. I'm just trying to like focus on the projects that I want to like work on next, and then just kind of see what happens. I've always that's just kind of how I live my life. I'm just like, I'm like, I want to do this thing, and I either do it or I don't. Things don't always work out, but I always do something, and then something like it just keeps on keeping on, and just I'll make more music, and this project will come out or this project won't come out, and I don't know. I just kind of live my life.
I
It's
love
like one day
how
at a time. Like really, like
it's so
I
nifty to me. Like
yeah,
just
yes and no. Like I'm with someone that's like very um like we got to plan shit out, and just like we got to think about like at the same time it's true. Like I'm 36. It's just like I have a kid now. It's just like I do kind of have to kind of plan.
yeah, a little bit.
It's just like yeah, I think things do work out. Things kind of always have just kind of worked out. Like yeah, I've had bad times in my life. I've had really good times, had some really dark times. But at the same time, things always kind of like work out for the best. It's just like
I mean, you seem to surround yourself with really smart like people in general. Everybody that knows you has been somebody that like I seem to be like I respect them or whatever. They're all like people like that are just doing interesting shit. As far as planning, I'm like, man, all I'm doing is planning. I plan all the fucking time. It's like the opposite. I'm just sitting there thinking about like where the
As far
fuck
as
like
planning, I'll do is planning.
who do
how
I
do I
listen
like
to most in 2021?
uh
Honestly,
Onyx,
I listen to a lot of like the DJ Muggs shit, everything that he's been coming out with. Let me look at my Spotify because honestly a lot. I listen to a lot of podcasts recently. Last podcast on the left. I listen to a lot of my own shit.
thing with Rome
Just
Streets, Mugs and Rome Streets, crazy.
yeah, Muggs and Rome Streets. That was really good.
Mugs and Bonnie Raitt.
Yeah, that's another one. Muggs and Flea Lord.
and
Uh,
hi
Riff
cool.
Raff.
Yo, Riff Raff is dope. Okay.
you've been listening to Riff Raff a lot?
Not a lot, but I mean, he always comes up in like music that I listen to, like a new song. He just dropped an album with him and Yellow Wolf. It's pretty dope. I know you don't really fuck with Yellow Wolf now, but
Yellow Raff? What's it called? Yellow Raff?
Nah, man,
no,
it's
it's
like I'm
called
so torn. It's like
Turquoise
I almost
Turquoise
no, I
Tornado.
seriously almost reviewed
That's what it's
it.
called?
Yeah,
Like
Turquoise
like
Tornado.
I reviewed Yellow Wolf's last project before this one, so like I'm really down to like go listen to Yellow Wolf and Riff Raff. I just didn't do it because something else happened, and I ended up not doing it on that day or whatever. No, I had to do some other review this weekend that was off camera that's coming out tomorrow. So I have a review coming out tomorrow that I couldn't do.
This is my jump back in. Look, I got Alchemist, Blizz from Juice. He's like an upcoming Rochester rapper. Haram, which was Arm and Hammer and Alchemist. Me and Shells' project. You name it. I got Are You Experienced, Jimi Hendrix. I got Flex Fake Freestyle, Holden.
Hey, that's a good one. I
I
like
got
that one.
Raekwon Immobilarity. Red
It's
and
a
Math
fake
Blackout. Marilyn Manson, Superchrist, Antichrist Superstar. And then Cash's Classics, which is a fucking playlist that I made of songs that I play for my son when I want him to like.
I'm just gonna say I feel pretty special being in the company of all that greatness. I don't care what anyone says. That's a blessed moment in my fucking life. But yeah, no, that's really cool. But the other question was dope. Also, was any beat experimentation?
I mean, I want to start making some more like house beats again.
Yes,
some like
please.
dancier stuff.
I want them.
Experimenting with that.
That shit, yo, Vince Pryce made the best dance beat ever. I don't care what anyone says. It's so good.
Honestly, I'm just kind of like I'm influenced by like what I hear like at the moment. If I'm like really into something, I'll like start like, or I'll hear like a beat, and I'm just like, oh, I wanna make that. Like my muse is like just like lots of things around me, you know, just like I'll watch a movie and I'll hear like a sample from it for like a little, you know, something from the score, and I'm like, yeah, I want to sample that.
Fair enough. So which other Montreal rappers do you want to produce for?
I mean, I got a few tracks with Morris Regal. I want to do more with him. I sent some beats to Mike Shab. I don't know if he's gonna fuck with that, like, cause he liked what I did with Deuce God, and he was like, yeah, I fucked with that, and I hit him up on Instagram, and he was like, yo, send me some beats, so I did. You know, Nate Huss, I'd like to work with him. There's this one dude I heard from DG, I forget his name, but he's been doing some grime stuff. Like to work with him.
Yeah, there's Grime DG.
Yeah, he did like a song with like a UK artist. It was like in Cult Montreal. Like I saw it, but I forget.
Yo, Vince is like the data brain. You know everything. You are. Producers got memories. And Cool Man Logan has memories.
I mean, Deuce God, I want to work with him some more. You know, I mean, see how me and him, we got some more music coming. Other Montreal acts. I mean, me and Basic still don't have a track together, and he's been, not that he hasn't been hitting me up for beats, but like nothing has just, you know, come out of it yet. So
fair enough. Yeah, I don't know. You can unmute.
O'Shea, I'd like to work with him. O'Shea, he's like,
O'Shea's
he's fucking dope.
O'Shea wants to make 3-packs with all the producers in the city.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I last saw. You can unmute, Cool Man. Sorry, Woobly Shoobly. You can unmute if you'd like.
I wasn't muted by force. I was a choice mute, but it's all good. It was a choice mute.
That's fair enough.
I don't want to be like sound accountable.
No, it's all right. You're. This is the part where you're allowed to now chime in and.
Oh no, but I didn't want to chime in. I just wanted to, like, if you guys wanted dates, like, to tell you without having.
Can we hear CL talk about Vincent Pryce now?
Yeah, can we hear CL talk?
Who said that? Is that Dozer?
No, that's Zalmanel. Yo, Zalmanel is like the realest one. He's like Ismail. Like, he's a real one.
It's something. No, I know he is the realest one. It's just also something Dozer would say.
Yeah, Dozer's fucking fun guy. I appreciate him still. So yeah, what are your thoughts listening to this Cool Man Logan, having just walked through all of that?
My thoughts. I mean, oh, it's cool, man. You're right though. You do put into perspective. Like, Vince has been part of a lot of like epic shit. It's true. Like, and like from different sides of like the coin, you know, like shit that's not exactly all the same, you know. So it's really cool. But no, I was like, I didn't think that like he was leaving anything out. It was more just like, oh, I was going to tell him, oh, that was then, this was now, you know.
I know that
was there. It was like, that's it.
Once I went on my Facebook, I could kind of
exactly. He solved that with the flyers. That's why I stopped talking.
There was a bunch of thing like in between that I didn't post on Facebook because Facebook wasn't really like a thing like that for like your music or whatever. It was more like word of mouth or like fucking sound.
Facebook events were big at one point though. Facebook events, like getting people to go to stuff by inviting them to the event.
But like 2012, 13, 14, like that.
No, that was actually, well, you know what happened was for events, I can tell you what the fuck happened. Did you see how good the events were in 2012? Like,
you were able to invite everyone.
No, but it's more than that. Like, I'm talking about.
Yeah, they didn't limit you. That's true.
No, but it's more than that. You so shit. There's like 500 people right now that you can invite. Right now, 500 people. Like, come on,
that's still pretty good.
There's the limits thing isn't a real thing. What happened was, I used to have these like flyers that would appear to have my name on them. And then there'd be like this link to my music in it. And there'd be like a description of the shits. And there'd be like clearly defined times. Like these events like meant something more than just a placeholder that something was happening on a particular time. And now if you look at most Facebook events to most people, like I try really hard to honor the times I put on my Facebook events so that people take them seriously.
Yeah. And now it's just like, 12, it's just like it's on that day at some time or whatever.
And yeah, so, the Facebook event was the event. Like people said they were going and you were like, yeah, they were actually going. And then show up in real life and they'd be like, wow.
And now then it just changed on the way. But I think we all treated them less seriously. But it was when people started putting less effort into actually doing the events right. Like, I don't know. I take this shit serious, event creation. I try to put the links to everybody. Like, if you're going to come look at an interview of Vince Pryce fucking thing, there should be a link to a Vince Pryce fucking thing. Otherwise, why are you ever going to go see it? Especially when you see, like, 15 names. Just a list of unclickable names. And you're like, I don't know who any of these people are. I'm not...
Yeah.
Fully incentivized.
I always hate that. Like,
no, my theory is that like you could like really like a group or artist, and they'd be like the third on the night, and by the time you get to like the 8th person of the night, you don't even remember that you like that person or what their name was or anything like that.
And then the other part of it is more like you look at the rave scene, which my brother was a part of at the time. They went so far as to write motherfucking bios. Like their event descriptions were like 1,000 fucking words. Okay.
Yeah. And like crazy like, links.
It's a good idea too.
Like if I ever like get to that part of life, people's getting fucking bios and introductions and like fucking links to other shits because it's like, why is like Ismail gonna come give us $10? Does he want to come hang out and watch this particular kind of music on that night? I don't know, but we should let the people have like a better sense of what they're getting into more than just here's a bunch of names from Montreal. Okay. Like, like just that's what I think happened to Facebook events.
Yeah.
And all you would have to do, because, think about it. Like, anytime
that and COVID.
No, but, because
you guys are making me sad talking about all these parties. I was like, fucking parties.
But, like,
parties.
Even with the protests and shit, when they were really well defined and structured, they were organized well, things happened. When they were not well defined, they didn't. Like people still rely on events if the people put effort into like even if you like leave music, like if people put effort into the event, other people take them seriously. Like we do this in my day job. We throw like webinars and shit, and like motherfuckers, like seriously, if you say like this shit's going down at this time, they expect it.
Not in rap music though, man. That's not how like especially not like underground rap music in Montreal. You gotta add like 2 hours every time.
So then book the show at 7.
You should.
And it'll start at 9.
Right. And be like, last call. Fucking.
Because you know what the other thing is? I want to spend a $30 Uber tax to go to your show, personally.
Then don't.
It is what it is.
No, I don't. That's why I don't go to a lot of shows.
Honestly, you're telling me you wouldn't pay a $30 Uber now to see a show, like a really good show? Yeah, you would. After there's been no.
You said a really good show, and
I
have
it doesn't have
all
to be trash.
The choice in the world to go to a really good show. As in, it doesn't have to be a hip hop show. So if it's a choice of a really good show, then I'm having the time of my fucking life. I'm gonna stay till whenever, and I'm gonna throw it down.
Yeah, but if I'm not having a year of show starvation, like
I'm telling you, my $30 matters more to me than that. Like I'm not that like I want lit vibes.
Go ahead.
So I want a lit vibe. Like no, I'm saying straight up. I'm in my 30s now. Do I really?
Reno, you wouldn't pay $30 for K Reno?
No. I don't think that show would be that lit, to be honest. I like it.
No, but you let you in free probably.
No, but it's more than that. I'm saying, would I stay past midnight? Would I be like, because it's more like I get up at like 6:30.
Cut it out.
I'm not kidding.
But imagine it's on a weekend. What if it's a Friday?
They still wake up early. I can't be fucking up my sleep that much, so it better be that lit. I'm saying it.
That's why you're taking Uber as an exception. It's like 1 or 2 shows a year. You don't give a shit. Come on, it's not the end of the world. If you're going to a show every week, then.
But that's what I'm saying. I want to be in the position.
Every month, even that could be.
I would rather be in the situation where I'm going to the show every single week, and it's lit, and it's done by 11:30, so I can catch that metro home.
Every week is too much though. Like who do you want to see? What artists do you want to see every week? Like,
dude, I've met so many people that there's actually that many people I'd want to go support if that shit was in locked up.
oh,
and that
you
shit
need
was
like a variety. Yeah.
yeah. But I'm saying if the shit was nice, as in
Fair
yo,
enough,
listen, I get a decent like job and shit. I can't be showing up to fucking work all exhausted. Anyway, I don't want to run this too late and getting sidetracked because I don't want to I know Vince has the kid and this is the Vince Pryce show.
I got work tomorrow too. I gotta be up at 5:30.
All right, so what we can do then is we can wrap this up. Thank you for coming through and adding some passion. Cool, man, Logan. I was running out of steam. For real, thank you, everybody, for coming. Everybody watching this, for real, asking your questions. Thanks, Vince Pryce. You're fucking wonderful. I really appreciate you. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. That's right.
Yeah,
tomorrow.
man. You too. And maybe we'll do a part 2. Not as long, but we'll do a part 2 of it.
Maybe, or we just set up a part 2 in a few months when there's we're gonna do.
That's what I'm saying.
Not tomorrow. Down the line, we're gonna do a proper part 2. It'll be another 3 hours. It's what it is. You're Vince Pryce. There's that much in your fucking world. Thank you all for watching though, cause that shit stayed over 10 pretty much the whole time, and I was blessed. Y'all showed love for real. Y'all kept that chat going. It was super easy to keep running this shit. You know what I'm saying? Y'all should go follow Cool Man Logan on all his shit. You can link it here, and you can go ahead.
I gotta be a better storyteller, though. Like I've always wanted to. Like I love movies. But like I gotta get it more like concise. Like there's a good storyteller, and it's just like.
But you know what? The problem.
I can tell stories, right? But I'm like, I want to be a good storyteller.
But you were like what I love as a storyteller in this one. I just want to end it on that. Yo, I talk to a lot of rappers / good storytellers, a lot, and we spin.
Maybe just because it's all jumbled in my brain, and then
we just got so much. No, it's beautiful. The verbal diarrhea that was this interview of you spewing memories was the show. That's what we do here. You watch it with everyone else. Just this time it was you. And that's the experience, man. You were perfect. It was wonderful. We have Ismail going part 2, 3, 4, and 5. Part 2 for real. Everyone's fucking showing love. That's not that's just, I can't make that up. Ismail is not gonna make up some shit like that. That guy is so fucking sharpshooter with it that it's spot on when he spits it.
He means it when he says it.
Facts. So all that to say, thanks you all for watching wherever you are. Appreciate it. Definitely, if you're in the future watching this, you can feel free to hit the subscribes, likes, and follows, and all that. Special thanks to the patrons.
To the future.
Special thanks to the patrons: Ismail Gadamsi, Chris Pato, Jonathan Barnes, CJ Black, Hurricane, Linda Williams, and Scribble. They're dope. They support what we do. If you're on if you're on Twitch and you have Amazon Prime, you can subscribe for free, and that would be dope. And if you've done it in the past, it renews monthly. And if you're in the future, patreon.com/BehindThatSuit. On that note, everybody, I'm going to go peep real quick who the fuck we going to raid. I think we're going to raid this honeycomb beatboxer dude because he's just fucking ridiculous. And I watched him the other day, and it was just super blessed, and I really enjoyed it. He said, behind that suit. It was fucking super cool. So if y'all like Vince Pryce, I do not see why you would not like this person's content. On that note, everybody, live long and prosper, everybody.